You can start music, Uday. Uday. I'm just forwarding core office IT professional number, ma'am. Yeah, I've asked Raj to get me onto it. Rahul, yeah, just one second. Yeah. Uday, are you there?
Yes, ma'am.
Uday, can we the background start with others are joining? Sorry for the delay because of the technical glitches, but at least we can put some.
Hi, Vinita.
Hello. I'm so sorry. Most of the technical issues, they're awake till 2 a.m. and now also Sashi ma'am is not. I just take one more minute. Uh, I think everybody was awake till late night yesterday, but still I.
Oh God, why?
Yeah.
There was a lot of background noise. It's or some music playing rather. Okay.
Yeah. So we'll start. Shashi ma'am, my principal, Shashi ma'am is not allowed to join. नहीं कर पा रही है ना, नहीं कर पा रही है. आप डॉक्टर रूपा मंजरी को इंटर कराइए, फिर शशि मैम को इंटर दे रही. डॉक्टर रूपा मंजरी has joined. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. I had a bit of a trouble trying to log out, log in, log out. Now, okay. Very clear to me, but I suppose 2 minutes somewhere towards the end.
Okay. Okay. Is there a way to stop this music? Ah, perfect. Thank you. Very nice. You're on mute. You're on mute, Vinita.
Then Uday, can we display the feedback video till Shashi ma'am will take another 1 and 2 minutes. That's what Rahul is saying.
I'm there, Vinita. I'm very much
Oh,
there.
thank you so
Good
much.
morning.
I'm
Good morning,
very sorry
Shikhar.
for
Good
all
morning.
technical glitches. I'm feeling so
Don't mind.
good that all of you are there.
Good
So
morning.
Uday, you can start.
Good morning, Dr. Ghosh. Good morning.
Morning, Shashi.
Good morning, Shikhar. Yeah.
Okay, shall we
Good
start?
morning, Daniel.
Yeah, please. I'm switching off my and mic also mute.
Right, before we begin, I'll just confirm if Daksh is here. Okay, he's here.
No.
All right. Greetings to all present here. I, Uday Bhanu Singh, with my co-host Daksh Bhatt, welcome you to the first day of the main events of Energy Boot Camp. This is an annual event organized by the STEAM department of Shiv Nadar School. Last year, we could not celebrate as we planned due to terrible air pollution. But this year, in spite of the pollution, we have managed to celebrate science. We've managed to celebrate science and technology in a way that has never been explored by the school.
We warmly welcome our chief guests, Mr. Shikhar Malhotra, the Executive Director and Board Member of HCL Corporation and the co-hold for HCL's operating companies. We are honored to have with us Dr. Rajeshwari Pillai Rajgopalan, who is also a distinguished fellow and heads the Nuclear and Space Policy Initiative at the Observer Research Foundation. She is also a non-resident Indo-Pacific Fellow at the Perth US Asia Center from April to December 2020.
We also have with us Dr. Rupa Manjari Ghosh, who is Shiv Nadar University's Vice-Chancellor and the founding director of the School of Natural Sciences. Prior to joining the university, Dr. Ghosh served as the Dean of the School of Physical Sciences at Jawaharlal Nehru University, Delhi, along with many other important academic and administrative positions. We also welcome Mr. Raymond Fernandez, the Director of Education of Shiv Nadar School. He was the DVP and academic head at Euroschool International Mumbai for all their 10 schools across India. He has also been the vice principal at JBCN International School. Thank you all for being here.
We welcome Ms. Shashi Banerjee, Principal of Shiv Nadar School, Noida, Ms. Anju Wal, the Principal of Shiv Nadar School, Faridabad, Ms. Monica Sagar, Principal of Shiv Nadar School, Gurgaon, Mr. Biswajit Banerjee, Principal of Vidyagyan, Bulandshahr, Singh, Principal of Vidyagyan, Sitapur.
Lastly, a very warm welcome to all the members of the Management Committee of EBC and the Indian Youth Nuclear Society, which includes Dr. Nitendra Singh, Ms. Sunaina Kundra, Mr. Samyak Manot, Dr. Vaishnavi Tiwari, and Mr. Nikhilesh Iyer.
Now, I request all of you to mute your microphones and join us in peace for the shloka recitation and the mindfulness spell.
Just a second. I apologize for this. This seems to be a glitch. Yes.
Shubham karoti kalyanam Arogyam sukha sampada Shatru buddhi vinashaya Deep jyoti namostute Deep jyoti param brahma Deep jyoti janardana Deepo haritu me papam Deep jyoti namostute Deep jyoti ज्योते
Thank you so much for joining us in peace. Now, I would like to invite Ms. Shashi Banerjee to share a few words to start off this event. Um, Seems like Shashi ma'am had a glitch. Okay, she rejoined.
Yes, Uday, I'm there.
Great.
So I think one of the most beautiful things about life is however much you put things together, the kind of response that the universe is capable of according is what really creates the thrilling experience of learning. So it is my joyous privilege to be welcoming such words, thinkers, institution builders, young minds, explorers, and scientists. And Uday and the team, along with the mentorship of Mrs. Vinita Sharad, have already had a taste of what simple energy and catching that energy of learning can do to minds and hearts. So I would simply say that putting the environment, health, and peace first when you set out to learn and to co-create and construct learning is what has been this 1 month long evangelization, glamorization, and a deep focus on what sustainable energies and understanding what fission, fusion, what nuclear energy, and what the positives, negatives of exploring such a sustainable resource of energy could mean. But most of all, it is the experiential learning and the core curricular philosophy that children have through this mentorship. And I simply want to congratulate everyone, all the 5 colleagues around, and a special thank you to Dr. Ghosh and the university support with the mentoring of the students from the Science Club. Monica, Anju, Dr. Banerjee, Mr. Viswajit Banerjee, everyone else from the Indian Youth Nuclear Society, Dr. Rajeshwari Pillai, and the entire lot of students under the leadership of their own team and Vinita and the science teachers. I wish you all the best because this is just embarking upon a journey, and the journey is going to lead us to many more stars that are still waiting to be explored. I thank Shikhar Malhotra, our trustee, for being here and for the energy and the enthusiasm. And for me, I think the code word today is energy. How can you sustain that energy without it letting get dampened by anything around us is through these inspiring presences and participations. And thank you very much to everyone here. And Vinita, my words fall short of your maverick enthusiasm because everything that seems absolutely impossible, somehow you rig all of us up and the energy around you to make it happen. Thank you, Uday, and over to you. It is your day, and we have many guests and very important people waiting to be heard, which we would all tune into. Thank you so much on behalf of the Shiv Nadar School it is a pleasure to be hosting this. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Your words mean a lot. Now, to proceed with the celebrations, I shall be playing a poem that has been written and performed by Abhinav Chaudhary, who is a student of grade 12 at Shiv Nadar School, Noida.
सुप्रभात सभी को। आज मैं अभिनव चौधरी आपके सामने अपनी एक कविता ऊर्जा प्रस्तुत करूंगा, जो कुछ इस प्रकार है। अनंत काल से मेरा वास, जीवन में मेरा दर्जा खास, जन्म ब्रह्मांड में न मिला मुझे, मेरे नाम का न कभी कोई दिया बुझे। रात का दिन करा एक बटन दबाकर, उष्ण जल का स्नान मुझसे पूरे जाड़े पर। हेलो शब्द का मेरे कारण ही प्रयोग, दिल्ली आगरा जाने में ना लगा तुम्हें जो। कीमत बड़ी चुकाई तुमने मेरा यह उपयोग करने। काली चादर आसमान में उड़ी, वही अल्म बनकर धरा पर पड़ी। इस प्रलय का एक ही उपाय, जो ही केवल प्रकृति चाहे। नवीकरणीय ऊर्जा उस उपाय का नाम, सहस्त्र वर्ष ये आएगा हमारे काम। सूर्य का जीवन में अभिन्न अंग, मदद करेगा जीतने को यह जा। सौर ऊर्जा का अमृत कलश, पर जीत न पाया रात्रि का अहम पक्ष। वायु का प्रभाव लाई उम्मीद नहीं, पवन चक्की की धार ने काटी हवा की नदियां कई। जब गए थे पवन देव रूठ, उम्मीद गई थी गईयों की टूट। चाहिए था एक ऐसा स्रोत, जो चले चाहे हो अष्टमी या हो चौथ। आया एक ऐसा उपाय, जिसने थे शहर दो बड़े ढाए। एक इकाई का हुआ खंड, जिसमें ऊर्जा निकली प्रचंड। जल में मचा हाहाकार, तापमान गया छत को कर पार। ऐसे घूमे चक्र अनेक, कि थक जाए चेतक भेजने देख। जग उठे थे गांव हजार, आई थी एक नई बहार। एक अवसर आया नया, प्रकृति को बचाने भाया। प्रचार करो इसका एक एक बाजार, प्रलय पर होगा कड़ा प्रहार। आज का सिखाया ये पाठ, याद रखना अपने दिल में जला के फाट। ऊर्जा का अगर करोगे सम्मान, तभी जीवन में मिलेगा जीवन दान। धन्यवाद।
That poem was awe-inspiring. Thank you, Abhinav. On ways to collaborate between the two departments. In this spirit, I now invite you all to view a dance performance prepared by Shiv Nadar School.
शुभकायेषु सर्वदा श्रीवक्रतुण्ड महाकाय कोटिसूर्यसमप्रभा निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव शुभकार्येषु सर्वदा श्रीवक्रतुण्ड महाकाय कोटिसूर्यसमप्रभा निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव शुभकार्येषु सर्वदा श्रीवक्रतुण्ड महाकाय कोटिसूर्यसमप्रभा निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव शुभकार्येषु सर्वदा
tete dhagi tete tagi tete tagi tete kridha tete tagi tete gadi gana nagi tete kati tete tagi tagi tete kata gadi gana kati tete tagi tagi tete kata gadi gana kati tete tagi tagi tete kata gadi gana tete kata gadi gana tete kata gadi 1 2 3 4 5 1 2 3 4 5 1 2 3 4 5 1 2 3 4 5 1 2 3 4 5 1 2 3 4 5 धा तत थे ता थे तदई थे तत थे आ थे तदई थे ता थे तत थे तत थे तत थे 1 2 3 4 थे तत थे 1 2 3 4 थे तत थे 1 2 3 4 धा 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 ते धा thung tak 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 thung tak di kat thung tak tak khadi the na di the tho di the tam ta ek do do तीन चार पाँच ताते थे आते थे ताते थे आते थे ताकि टिकट था ताकि टिकट था ताकि टिकट था तदा 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 1 2 3 4 5 ताते थे आते थे ताते थे आते थे ताकि टिकट था ताकि टिकट था ताकि टिकट था तदा 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 1 2 3 4 5 ताते थे आते थे ताते थे आते थे ताकि टिकट था ताकि टिकट था ताकि टिकट था तदा 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 1 2 3 4 5 दानी 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 दीम दीम दाना दाना दानी दीम दीम दाना दाना दानी दानिया ना दाना दानिया ना दाना दाना
That performance has left me awestruck. What a wonderful amalgam of to share her thoughts on this wonderful event.
Thank you, and good morning to everyone. And it's such a pleasure to be part of you all this morning. I thank everyone at the Indian Youth Nuclear Society and Shiv Nadar School. And I also appreciate the kind words of welcome by Mrs. Shashi Banerjee. Really appreciate this opportunity. This role is somewhat new to me. I speak at a lot of conferences and meetings, but playing the role that I've been asked to, it is really, really new. And I'm honored and grateful for the invitation and the opportunity. To get into the current context of the energy boot camp that you are going to be discussing over the next couple of days, it is a well-known fact that India is an energy deficient country. And therefore, we don't have the luxury to choose one over the other. We need coal, the clean coal. We need oil and gas, wind energy, solar, as well as nuclear. As of now, India produces about 6.7 gigawatts of power from nuclear fuel from its 22 operational nuclear power plants, effectively contributing under 2% of the total energy mix. This is, I think, in some estimates, by looking at it, it is lower than the vision that the Department of Atomic Energy had, which hoped to produce at least 20 gigawatt of nuclear power by 2020. While India has successfully completed the first stages of its nuclear fuel program, the second stage is still in its works and has taken much longer than it's expected, in a sense. India plans to achieve this ambitious goal by using a number of its indigenous technologies, but as well as technology and other component systems that are derived from other countries. The future of nuclear energy in India may be somewhat less promising than it did a decade ago, but I think that's also due to the kind of larger slowdown across the globe. So it has every potential to emerge as one of the most important, significant components of India's energy mix, given especially the climate change dynamics that come into play, which has made India conscious of the kind of energy that we use, clean energy options. Even so, I think as we remain focused on this particular aspect, I would also urge that at least some of the students who may be going in this field may also look at a related another issue, that is of nuclear security, security of nuclear materials, nuclear transportation, insider threats, and so on and so forth. And I say this because one major issue, the International Atomic Energy Agency maintains a database called the Incident and Traffic Database. In 2019, it came out with a document it talked about where between 1993 and 2019, there were 3,686 confirmed incidents that were reported by participating states, which confirmed issues of incidents of trafficking or malicious use, or incidents where insufficient information as to what was the purpose or how it related to the trafficking or malicious use, and 2,373 incidents that are not related to trafficking but some other form of malicious use. So incidents, these kind of incidents have been on a rise. Though no terrorist groups, for instance, have shown any inclination or demonstrated the capability to threaten India or other countries with nuclear devices, but I think this is something that India has to be mindful of, especially the kind of neighborhood that India is located in. Nuclear security becomes bigger an issue. Can terrorists buy or acquire nuclear weapons? I think it is going to be extremely difficult or challenging. Even states that are trying to develop nuclear weapons or nuclear capabilities face immense difficulties but need an arsenal and an infrastructure. Terrorists trying to develop or acquire capabilities of this kind is very different, but I think but you have non-state actors such as EQ Khan network that flourished in Pakistan in our neighborhood should be a reminder of the kind of challenges that may exist in our own neighborhood. The lethality of these weapons or the materials that we use, generally they are heavily guarded, protected with electronic locks, demated, making it difficult to acquire an entire weapon. But even if there is a successful heist, for instance, or even this possibility of using radiological, which are far more prevalent in our society, given the dual-use nature of these materials, I think because if you, for instance, a radiological dispersion device or RDD, or what's popularly called the suicide bomb, a suitcase bomb, these can spread a lot more fear and panic among the large population centers that we have. So therefore, I would say that we need to be more careful about handling of these materials, even if we look at nuclear energy as an important aspect of our total energy mix. We need to be also mindful of this other aspect of nuclear security. These have generally been not so sort of security. There are multiple security sort of tiers, multiple, but also we face multiple threats. Left-wing extremism to separate insurgency in the case of India, state-sponsored cross-border terrorism. There is also the possibility of insider collusion or sabotage, for instance. And the Mumbai terrorist attack in 2008 again reminds you of the capability for commando-style attacks in our neighborhood, from across the neighborhood. And so I would urge at least some of the students to start maybe looking at some of these issues. I know that this is far too many detailed issues. I'm not going to get into the details, but I think the kind of neighborhood that we are located in and the kind of global security challenges that are throwing up today should guide us to lead us to at least some of us to take up this particular aspect of nuclear energy as well. Nuclear energy is important, especially in the clean energy context, but I think it is also important for us to look at this in the context of security of nuclear materials, because even though it's less probable, any likelihood or any possible accident or a security incident from resulting with the use of nuclear materials can be heavily disastrous, not just for today's generation but also future generations. Therefore, I would urge some of us to also start looking at this particular aspect. But all I want to do at this point is to wish you all the very best for the nuclear boot camp, the energy boot camp that is going to be held over the next couple of days. All the very best, and thank you again for having me here. This has been a fantastic opportunity to be part of this conversation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for your valuable insight. Now, in order to introduce all of you to the previous events at Energy Bootcamp, I will be sharing two videos that have been recorded by students from Shiv Nadar University to show their journey and their contributions from the Physics Society at the university and the role that many of their students played as student mentors.
A very good morning to everyone. Today, we would like to officially announce the collaboration of the Physics Society of Shiv Nadar University and the STEM department from Shiv Nadar School, Noida. We plan to organize experimental demonstrations, interaction sessions, discussion sessions, quizzes, and various other activities with an estimated frequency of about once a month. Further, we would be happy to extend the collaboration with other branches of Shiv Nadar School, as suggested by Vinita ma'am. The aim would be to motivate and inspire young school children to appreciate the role of science in our daily lives and to spark an interest to pursue a career in scientific research. It's our pleasure to be an integral part of the collaboration.
Hi everyone, I'm Malay and I'm here with my friend Sarath, and we actually looked at the experiments that maybe some of you have gone through, like with the scientific officer as part of the energy boot camp. So the one we were interested in was related to thermodynamics, and it was about the pressure cooker.
Michael Faraday, in the year of 1831, is credited with the discovery of electromagnetic induction, as he observed in this circuit he had constructed. This circuit consists of two parts, part A and part B. And note that these two circuits are not having any physical contact in between them.
In this example of hydropower, what happens is this water on the one side of the dam, which is stored as potential energy, and it is let in through intake, which then converts into kinetic energy. And this hits the thing called turbine, which you can see on the right hand side. It's a blade it's a propeller like device, which on contact will move in one particular direction.
Electromagnetic waves are basically the waves, and they do not require a medium to travel. They have specific characteristics, which involves the transverse nature, which is basically that the oscillation is perpendicular to the direction of the propagation. Most of the microwaves are basically used in the CMBR radiations. CMBR is basically the cosmic microwave background radiation, which was used to detect the expansion of the universe and everything.
I'm going to talk about solar energy. I guess most of you already know a lot about solar energy, and you must have come across things in your daily life like the solar panels, or you might even have solar energy being used in your house. So solar energy, main thing that comes to your mind when you think about it is one, the sun, and the other is the panel.
Thank you so much for watching. There are more glimpses that are included in the same video that will be proceed.
The previously shown glimpses are just a part of the entire journey of Energy Bootcamp. We started off with our launch event on October 6th, which was followed by an inter-school quiz that had over 2,000 participants. With the help of IYNS, the camp included extraordinary experiments such as making a galaxy on our roof to understand the interactions of light and using thermodynamics to conserve energy inside our kitchens. Selected students were also given the opportunity to work on group projects mentored by scientists. It has truly been a tremendous journey for the organizers as well as the participants.
Along with all the events that were a part of Energy Bootcamp, we had several competitive events, and I'm sure that many of the participants have been eagerly waiting for the announcement of the results. So without further ado, I shall be now sharing and announcing the results of all the competitive events at Energy Bootcamp. For the categories of movies and documentaries, the winner is Manya Parakar from Shiv Nadar School, Noida. The first runner-up is Azura Lal from Shiv Nadar School, Gurgaon. And the second runner-up is Kaustubh Chaturvedi from Shiv Nadar School, Noida.
The winner for the painting competition is Sampratka from Shiv Nadar School, Noida. The first runner-up is Swinzal Taneja from Shiv Nadar School, Faridabad. And the second runner-up is Maria Sekka from Shiv Nadar School, Faridabad.
For the category of rap songs and poems, the winner is Anant Tiwari from Vidyagyan Bulandshahr. The first runner-up is Tanush Bhatnagar from Shiv Nadar School, Noida. And the second runner-up is Swinzal Taneja from Shiv Nadar School, Faridabad.
The winner for slogans and taglines is Sakshi from Vidyagyan Sitapur. The first runner-up is Swinzal Taneja from Shiv Nadar School, Faridabad. The second runner-up is Sumit Kesharvani from Vidyagyan Bulandshahr.
For the memes and cartoons competition, the winner is Shivan Kandoi from Shiv Nadar School. The first runner-up is Soham Verma from Shiv Nadar School, Gurgaon. And the second runner-up is Ayana Agarwal from Shiv Nadar School, Faridabad.
The winner for digital art is Sirinika Verma from Shiv Nadar School, Gurgaon. The first runner-up is Shivain Kandoi from Shiv Nadar School. The second runner-up is Jehaan Chaudhary from Shiv Nadar School.
For the poster making category, the winner is Nirali from Shiv Nadar School, Noida. The first runner-up is Shreya Gupta from Shiv Nadar School, Gurgaon. And the second runner-up is Krishvi Kohli from Shiv Nadar School, Gurgaon.
Heartiest congratulations to all the winners and thank you everyone else for your valuable participation. To add to the celebrations, I now request Dr. Rupa Manjari Ghosh to add her impressions about the event.
I did, but it didn't work. That happened. Yeah, thanks. Can you hear me now? Yes. It's been a great pleasure to join you all this morning for this culmination of the Energy Bootcamp. I really don't have words to express how I'm feeling. Let me thank Vinita Sharath and team, guided by the principals, Shashi ma'am in particular, Vidyagan principal, Mr. Shivjit Banerjee, and what I just heard from Dr. Rajeshwari Pillai, Rajagopalan, for clean energy and the security of this really is fascinating. The students from both Shiv Nadar University and Shiv Nadar School, I'm so proud of them. We are part of the same foundation, the Shiv Nadar family, as I call it. And it's only natural that we'll be collaborating, but it's not just collaboration in mere terms, but I think both sides, there's a lot of learning that I see happening. So thanks to both the teams, Vinny Mathur from Shiv Nadar University, who coordinated, and my physics faculty, particularly advisor, Shamarendra Pratap Singh. I happen to be the science director still, so I perform this dual role. It has been quite a journey for all of us, but this is just the beginning. I want to just say, maybe just lighten the things up a bit. The As you all do, like this morning's function shows that while you do very serious academic work, you don't stop having enjoyment and fun. It's in our culture. There's a lot to be learned from. I'm a physicist myself, but I don't work in nuclear energy. The amazing thing is that if you look around nature, in nature everything seems seamless. The sun gives you the nuclear energy. Of course, you don't go near that. But everything else that you see, scientists for ages have actually tried to mimic and understand nature. And engineers brought in technology that's essentially a scaling up operation. So we actually do things in a small scale, and engineers figure it out how actually to scale it up to serve humanity. There are many asymmetries you see in the civilization the way we have built it. So energy demand is something that is taken for granted. I think that's probably the problem. That the way civilization has grown, the way we have created it, we are terribly dependent on excess energy. And that means that we have to actually sometimes go for unusual means to meet this demand. And that's what you are seeing the effect of. I want to leave this world when we go habitable for the next generation. So the major thrust of all research today is actually on sustainability. So it's not just clean energy, but sustainability, so that there is enough food, there is enough clean air, clean water for the next generation. I can't think of anything better to work on as a scientist. For a scientist, this is, you probably know, what's a couple of take-home lessons from any of these boot camps? For me, the first time I did ever any such thing was to understand how scientists find a problem. And I want to tell you this in very simple language. I think of three kinds of people in the world. There are wise people who know that they know. You know something and you know that you know. You are wise. There are idiots in this world who do not know and they think that the world is full of them. When you don't know and you think you know, you are an idiot. Not knowing is not a problem. So that leaves the rest of us, intelligent people who aspire to be scientists. You know exactly what you do not know. So scientists all their life is actually trying to precisely know what they do not know so that they can attack it. So part of the training of science is precisely know what you do not know. And so we scientists sort of keep ourselves in a shell. We do not get into philosophy. We do not get into religion. We actually aspire to understand, ask the big question, why things happen in nature, and not how. Science doesn't have answer to many of life's questions. It doesn't. So don't even look for it. It doesn't have it. But you try to precisely formulate a question that you can use scientific methodology to crack. And that is really the crux of the matter. So I think when you are in this journey, that it should be one lesson to know what you do not know and therefore keep on exploring. And many of the things we are going back bio-inspired science, nature-inspired science, and look around and figure out how technology probably can be derived from nature. So I can go on and on. We teachers have a tendency to talk for long. And I think today has been such a great energy day. I think we need to think innovatively. Don't fall in the trap of much of information that sometimes blocks you to think of new things. And I think that's the second lesson, that you need to be attacking problems and figuring it out what you need to know. If you know too much, then it blocks your view of the unexplored territory. So I think I welcome you to this journey that you have begun. And this is really just the beginning of everything. So don't think the camp after this will be all free. So thank you very much for having me witness this morning, all the things that I'm seeing. And I wish you all best of luck and fun time in the next 2 days, which I'll try to join in and out. And I congratulate all of you for being part of this great team. Don't thank me, Shashi, because I'm part of your team. So I think we are all part of the same foundation. It's really, really great. So thank you all, and have fun in the next 2 days. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, ma'am, and thank you for being a part of our team as well in this morning. I now invite Mr. Shikhar Malhotra to share his own insight to the Energy Bootcamp.
Hi, good morning. Thank you for inviting me, and thank you, Shashi ma'am, for a very kind introduction. As you all know, it's very easy to follow a physicist talking about nuclear energy, right? So I will try to I'll try to do my best. Well, firstly, it's such a pleasure to see Shiv Nadar School and Vidyagyan come together for this boot camp. You know, we've got the best of urban and rural India discussing a topic of national importance, something which in your lifetime will be even a bigger issue and even garner more importance. So there can never be a right time to start this. I think you just have to start, getting absorbed and involved. It's a phenomenal subject to learn, and quite frankly, I've learned a lot from the speakers today myself as well. When Vinita ma'am asked me to be the guest speaker, I readily agreed because, as you all know, by for an answer, and I admire her energy, her passion. I think the focus. These are incredible qualities. If you have, you're really blessed. If you can absorb some of that passion into this subject, do tell me how you did it. I'd love to do it as well. Usually this time of the year, we're discussing a pretty morbid topic like pollution and whether the schools should be closed or whether they should be open. And I can't tell you like how much guesswork there's actually involved in something like that because unfortunately we don't really have a standard of living, right? This thing came around and we weren't really ready for it. And at least we're not discussing that this year, right? So it's great that the school still continues. So there are some silver linings in the clouds. The Shiv Nadar School prides itself on not just educating students, but creating leaders. Leaders think differently, they stand apart, and they certainly look at areas towards the future where they can make a difference in. The amazing thing about a boot camp is that it's usually a wild experience of ideas, action, thoughts. All of this sort of comes together, which you typically sometimes don't get inside a classroom. It's also, if I'm not mistaken, maybe the first time that we've got all the 5 schools coming together, or even if it is not the first time, it's just always a really nice feeling whenever the ideas are being contributed from all corners of Shiv Nadar Foundation. I'm also excited that the Shiv Nadar University Physics Department has been involved in the boot camp and mentoring and guiding. As you know, I wear 2 hats. One is a trustee of Shiv Nadar School and the other is a pro-chancellor of the university. So I'm doubly excited on an event like this. Now, could there be a better time to be discussing a topic like clean energy? When you look outside and you see, the pollution levels, the AQI levels, I think that, it's something very symbolic to be discussing a topic like this in a week like this outside. It's also, I mentioned about standard of living, right? And I think that that's something where, you've heard the science view of it, but I think that, maybe we need an identity about what a standard of living should be for India and for us as citizens, and also for you as a younger generation, because, change really stems from the youth, right? And the more you demand, the more change you will see. If we can establish a standard of living as to what is acceptable, a 200 AQI level is considered to be a decent day here. It's considered to be a national emergency in many countries. And that's something that, we're gradually growing accustomed to. But, perhaps the change needs to be like a moonshot rather than incremental, right? And, that can really only stem from some radical ideas and initiatives. And, just like COVID, pollution does not discriminate. It affects all segments of society. So it is a national problem. We're living at a time we're also torn between growth of our nation and the preservation of our ecology and environment. I can tell you, being a conservationist myself, Roshi and I run the Habitats Trust. We will always be able to get growth back, but you're not going to be able to get the ecology back necessarily, right? And so it's a bit of a tough bargain to have. Can these solutions coexist together? I'm certain they can. It's just a matter of finding those ideas and finding those solutions, and above all, having the will to do it. And I think that, the boot camp, while you will be immersed in ideas and knowledge, I think that, what you hopefully can take away from it is just the will and the desire to make that difference. China, I read that China adds 1 year, China in 1 year adds the same energy output that India adds in a decade. So we simply cannot keep up with the energy requirement that we need to grow, and therefore we resort to coal as our primary energy resource. We have it in abundance. It's cheap, and frankly, it's also very consistent because we've used it for many decades. But consistency is also the refuge of the unimaginative, right? And we owe it to ourselves to apply, to discover solutions that are good for growth and good for the environment that can coexist. I recall once hearing a quote, this is about a decade ago. It said, I think, with the advancement of technology, we thought that we were really at a pivot point where we will have groundbreaking solutions, more from a humanitarian perspective. And this quote went, 10 years ago, we thought we'd be making flying cars. Instead, we ended up with 140 characters, right? And I think what he's trying to say is that the best minds, the best young minds in the world have been absorbed into solutions like social media and all. They're not entirely bad by any stretch. But I think the point is that the world of science awaits the brightest minds. And you can never have enough people in a field like that to drive change. Especially to leapfrog growth and to solve humanity's problems. The future is certainly in science. I know the future has been in technology for a long time. The future is in both actually, but I think between COVID and between energy solutions and many other ideas, I think the changes you'll see in science will be unprecedented in your lifetimes for sure. I saw the design of the boot camp. It looks fantastic. I want to congratulate you all as students for putting together this boot camp. It looks amazing. It looks like a lot of fun. You're going to be immersing yourself into something which is going to expand your mind. And, a mind once expanded doesn't go back to the same size. Okay. So, I wish you all the success. Congratulations. It seems like a lot of fun, right? And listen to Vinita, ma'am. I do. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your kind words. I now invite Dr. Nitendra Singh, a nuclear scientist and the founder and president of IYNS, to speak about the role of nuclear energy in the fight against climate change. So over to you.
Thank you so much, Daksh. And very first of all, very good morning to all the dignitaries here, all the enthusiastic students. And I feel this is amazing to see your enthusiasm and interest in the topic. So I'll begin with a quick recap. When we were designing this this event 2 months back with Vinita ma'am, it was really nice to see her energy, and since I'm being associated with her for long now, so it was amazing to always collaborate. And all of you has very nicely mentioned the importance of the boot camp, importance for the green energy and stuff. And the main idea with this event was to ignite the young minds with one question, and that is the why. Whatever we are doing, why we are doing so, why it is necessary, why it is important to all of us. When we say all of us, it not only restricts us to a city or a country, we are talking about globally, because energy and environment all together contribute to sustainability, and it's a global concern. So I'll begin with my short presentation. I all of you.
Yes, it is, sir.
Great, thank you. So let's the fun begin. I think all of you are very much familiar with this image. So this is what we call about the evolution. You all know we evolved from such a primitive species to a very advanced species, which you can see now. And we are now dealing with generation Z. So this is how the evolution happened. the mind became sharper and sharper. Humans started striving for better living, and they made innovations to grow it up eventually. And as Dr. Ghosh was saying, the science is basically to evolve. I would say, I would just add to that that everyone is a scientist when they are trying to find something which they don't know. So not only those who are studying science can become a scientist. Anyone who try to find some solution is a scientist. So to this image, if I may add, how about this? This shows a real picture of how we actually evolved. The evolution was not only in happening just because the people or the humans
because they were
were
trying
becoming
to
smarter because they were trying
find the
to
better living,
but the role of energy was constantly there
was
to
constantly
help them
there
out,
to help them
um,
out.
beginning from the
Uh,
innovation of
Beginning
fire,
from the
or I would say
innovation of
discovery of
fire,
fire.
or I would say
Human learned
discovery
how
of
to
fire,
cook, how
human
to
learned how to
prevent
cook, how
themselves,
to
the safety, the
prevent themselves, the
security,
safety,
and
the
then
security,
how to
and then
control fire.
how to
They learned,
control
then they evolved
fire.
with
They
other,
learned, then they
using the
evolved with
fire, they were
other,
able to
using
make
the fire, they
tools,
were
they were
able
able
to
to
make
industrialize
tools,
it,
they were able to
and so on.
industrialize it,
And
and so on.
you all know,
And
if you go
you all
to
know,
this
if you go
image,
to this, you
how
will
you will
see
see
this.
this. So
So
this is
this is
more of
more
the
of the
modern
modern
era,
era,
and
and
it
it
explains a
explains a
lot
lot of
of information
information
about
about
role of
role of
energy in
energy in
evolution
evolution
and
and
development.
development.
So if
So
you
if you
see,
see,
if
if
you
you
start from
start
the
from the
beginning,
beginning,
when
when
you
you
started with the fire,
then
then
you
you
control
control
the
the
fire,
fire,
then
then
you
you
are
are
able
able
to
to
use
use
that
that
fire
fire
in
in
such
such
a
a
manner
manner
that
that
you
you
can
can
get
get
some
some
machines.
machines.
Then
Then you
you improve
improve
those
those
machines
machines
in
in
a
a
due
due
course
course
of
of
time,
time,
and
and
today
today
you
you
know
know
where
where
we
we
are.
are.
And
And
if
if
you
you
see,
see, like
like
the
the energy
energy
initially,
initially,
if
if
you
you
even
even
if
if
you
you
say
say
the
the
fire,
fire,
it
it
started
started
with
with
the
the
biomass
biomass
only.
only.
You
You
could
could
burn
burn
some
some
tree
tree
leaves,
leaves,
some
some
tree
tree
stuff,
stuff,
and then
eventually
eventually
you grew up finding different type of sources like coal and then gas, and you know later on you found the men became smarter, so they found some more interesting sources of energy like hydro, or I would say renewables and other, including nuclear and hydro. So it is very important to understand here the role of energy, not only in evolution but also in our development. So here I'm just trying to make the coexistence of evolution and development. Evolution, maybe it's a biological process which keep on growing in due course of time. However, development is something you try to do for your better living. So somehow, in order to have a better life, better living, we need to have a, a constant supply of energy. And as Shikhar was mentioning, like what is best or what is better living, that depends on different demography. For example, as he mentioned, like if you say the AQI, the where I am living, the AQI is 1 or 2 most of the times. While in Delhi, which is my home, and there the AQI, normal AQI is like 300, and people are quite comfortable with. And if you have like here, people say Paris is one of the most polluted city we have in France, where the AQI is just 100. So it depends where you are living and what kind of living you need. So that's how you basically develop, and that's how you basically do your development. But as I was mentioning, for that you need to have a constant supply of resources, constant supply of energy to improve. And to do so, as I was mentioning, we found so many types of sources, and this is the one of the picture I always emphasize on. This is all we have. Maybe, of course, some new innovative renewable sources like tidal, geothermal, and other are coming up. But mainly, which are contributing in the major part of the energy production are mainly resources. We have coal, we have gas, we have solar, nuclear, wind, hydro, mainly. So here I'm giving you one perspective. If you see like which source is generating how much carbon dioxide, and if you take one unit, then you can see if one unit is producing, say for example for hydro you are producing 6 units of carbon dioxide. Oh, sorry, 6 units of carbon dioxide. Then with coal and gas, how much you are using, and you can see the other renewable, how much they are releasing. Now, why it is important to see this and why it is important to learn about it. So, as I was mentioning, if you go to this image, you need to have the evolution in such a manner that you don't. For that, you need to have energy, and if you generate a lot of carbon dioxide, then my concern is this part. If you see. This I always say as the sustainability. It's the heartbeat of the planet, if you see. Or if you say it's the heartbeat of the entire life on our planet. If we keep on generating carbon footprint or directly affecting the environment, and we all know the greenhouse gases emission directly affect the climate change, and the average temperature of earth keep on rising, and if it'll keep on rising, then there will be issues, if you understand. So if there is a rise in temperature at one place, it will basically affect. If you see, the planet is a global sphere. So if you make some perturbation in one part, you will feel the effect of it in other part. So even if there is a wildfire in Australia or in United States, it doesn't matter that okay, it's their affair. We don't have to care about it. It's okay. We are free. We are okay. No, it will affect it. That energy which has perturbed the system, this closed system there, it will affect. Maybe it will create some cyclone in Japan, or maybe it will create some tsunami on the southern coast of India. Everything is very well connected. So we need to understand, like, if we want to use this energy or these resources, it is coming at a very high price, which is the carbon footprints. So somehow we need to understand that if we want to develop, we need to pay this price. So as I will again take the reference from Shikhar, if we are living in a Western world, we may say, okay, we are okay with our development. We can now focus more on environment. It's okay. We should take care of the our carbon footprint and stuff. But if you're living in a country like India, you know how we live. You know our most of the population is still living in such a condition that they don't have access to drinking water or the electricity or a basic medical healthcare, I would say. So these are the concerns. So you need to understand: are you quite comfortable with this, or living in such a scenario that you're in? Most of the population is living in such a scenario, and you don't want to focus on development, or you are ready to pay this price, which will affect globally our planet. Maybe if you keep on contributing like this to the carbon footprint, tomorrow you will not have the planet at all. So the question is this: do you really want the development, or you want to save the environment? As I was mentioning, you if you're living in a country like India or Africa or all these so-called third world, you cannot, I don't think you can compromise with the development. You need to have basic needs at least. So all of you are quite comfortable, and we can see all of us are already connected through such a advanced system. Like we are sitting in a different part of the world, and we are still able to organize this month-long fun activity boot camp. But do you think is it really possible to for the uh, population which is living in the rural areas? There are people who don't even know about what is this all about. They are still focusing on their daily basic. So if you want that, sorry, if you want to have this development, you need to understand that what price you are paying. So are you actually ready to take this risk? Are you ready to pay this price? Or do we have another solution? The answer lies here. Most of the people are saying now we have a green solution. We can, change our fossil based energy system to the green energy system. And this is a very beautiful image you'll find everywhere, that people say it's a green evolution. Some people say this is the green revolution, where we are transforming from black to green. So, however, if you see, in most of the cases here, people mainly talk about the hydro, wind, and solar. But are these the only solution, or are these the only green solutions we may have? If yes, then why? If no, then why not? This we need to understand. What are the issues we have through the or with the renewable resources? So I'll take this example. For example, if you want to fuel 1 megawatt hospital for 1 day, okay, the power you need to run a hospital for 1 day, you need this much amount of land, you know, for a wind farm. Or you need just 1 gram of uranium, which is like, just tiny stuff, because it's very dense, so very tiny. So you need to understand, like, a 7 gram of nuclear uranium give you around 3 barrels of oil, energy which is equivalent to 3 barrels of oil, energy coming out of 1 ton of coal, and the energy coming out of the 500 meter cube of gas. So this we need to understand, like, along with the renewables, we also have some issues which we need to address, and we need to find a proper logical solution. We need to have a base load power supply. As I was mentioning, like, you need to have a constant power supply in order to have a constant sustainable development. The issues with the renewables is like, if you see here, the capacity factor. What we say, the energy performance, because of the intermittent nature of energy sources like wind power or the solar. This is a major concern. For example, you cannot have a base load power supply out of solar, or a 20 by base load I mean 24/7 power supply from solar, because at the night the production is really low. Your production from the wind power supply depends on the currents, and it's not the same every day. It keep on fluctuating. The same is the case with the hydro as well. You cannot have the sources hydro power plants everywhere across the country. So the main two players which can actually perform better in this condition is basically the fossils. Here it's mentioned the coal, but it's the fossils, and the second one is the nuclear, which actually can give us full power at all the time. So now we need to understand this aspect, because coal we have been using for long now. Coal in the sense all the fossils we have been using for long now, and we know what are the demerits of it. This is the price which we are paying for the development. So now if you really want to focus on the development, you need to have a constant power supply, and so far you are getting it from the fossils. So if you take this image, you can understand why it is important to replace this baseload power supply with something green. And where is the logical solution I'm talking about? So nuclear energy is the logical solution in the manner because it can supply 24 hours electricity, and it basically take the or it has the advantage over the intermittency of other renewable sources like wind and solar. And that's how I always say that nuclear is the right balance for the climate. So you can see the nuclear for climate. So I just want to highlight here, if you want to have a sustainable development, you want to maintain and improve your quality of life, you want to give your people a basic needs which they need to survive. For that, you need not to compromise with the health. Is this right balance, and this is the logical solution we should think about and we should consider. So as I am saying again, I'll highlight here to all the students that you should not take my words. Like when I am saying you should take nuclear as the solution, okay, yeah, he's saying no. Think logically. If you think logically it's correct, then choose it. If you think it's logically not correct, then question it. Why it is not like this? Or if it is the solution, why it is the only solution, or it is the best solution? Or do we have something else? The sustainable requirement as per the IPCC. The IPCC is the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. It is working under United Nations, and most of the countries are part of it, and they discuss everything about it. But I won't name them. They don't feel like that they should be following the recommendations they made. But IPCC mentioned that 80% of the electricity will need to be low carbon in 35 years of time in order to limit ourselves to 2-degree rise of the average global temperature of the planet. So far we have already rose to 0.5 degrees Celsius, and with the recent calculations which we made, we found like if we continue ignoring these recommendations, maybe we will achieve 1.5 degree by 2040 only. So if what are the consequences of this temperature rise? As I was mentioning, there will be some cyclones in some part of the planet. There will be some wildfires in some part of the planet. There will be drought in another part of the planet. Everything will be, the frequency will be keep on increasing. And if you noticed the recent incidents happening across the globe earlier, the one of the major concern in America was the tornadoes, but recently they found there are fire nados. It's a very new thing where you have the tornado which is made up of fire, and the frequency has increased now. So you may say like I am highlighting the issues in America only, but why not in India? Because we have other bigger problems. We tend to focus more on insignificant problems more compared to the significant problems. As you know, you are in Delhi, and everyone is quite comfortable living in that high AQI. However, they don't want to address the issue of pollution, issue of green energy requirements, issue of a better healthcare system in the various parts. So somehow you need to think logically that what is the significant changes we need to bring to make the society better for living. Continuing that, concerns associated with the nuclear energy. As I mentioned, you should question it logically, not just accept it because I'm saying it's nuclear is the best. You should take it like it's the best thing. As um, Dr. Rajgopalan, there are many issues associated with the nuclear technology. There are many threats associated with the nuclear technology. But it's like, are we really taking that threats? Okay, there are threats, and we are just sitting like, okay, we have, it's okay, it's completely okay. People are fool. We can just, make them fool, and we can continue. It's not like that. You need to understand the concerns as well. For example, one of the major concern is nuclear waste. It depends on how you take this concern. Nuclear waste is, of course, the radioactive, because the main source of energy is radioactivity, and you learn a lot about radioactivity in due course of time during the boot camp. So, but it depends how you take your waste. For example, I hope all of you like the Coke or the aerated beverages, and it comes in a can. Okay, so now if you collect all these cans around and you just throw it, you can see how much will be the size of this dump will be, because you know the consumption of Coke. However, if you just crush it and you remelt it, because it's a metal, and reuse it, then the only waste will be the paint and everything which was there on this can. So the size will reduce to very small. The same thing is what we are doing with the nuclear waste. And I must emphasize here, nuclear industry is one of the most regulated industry across the globe. The most, I'm saying. And the way it handles its waste and the way it is accountable for its waste, nobody else is doing in any part of the world, or the nuclear industry, how they are managing it. Of course, there are some policy differences, and as I mentioned, it depends on how you actually take your waste, or how you actually define your waste. So you possibly can have almost 96% of your spent fuel coming out of the reactor after generating the electricity as a recycle. You can reuse all of it. And just 4% is the actual radioactive waste. And here I'm talking about this radioactive waste when we are using only one kind of reactor. There are different kind of reactors where you reuse this 4% as well, and you reduce it to less than 1%. That's what India is doing, which you need to understand. India is having one of the best nuclear technologies in the world, because we are handling our waste in the best possible manner, because we have the so-called closed fuel cycle, where we use the fresh fuel, we burn it to take the energy, and we recycle this waste, the spent fuel coming out, we reuse the reusable fuel. With this, whatever this material left from this recycled part, we reuse it in different kind of reactor, we reprocess it again, and we take out the energy. So this kind of loop is we are following to treat our nuclear waste. And even from the waste, we try to take out many important products, like we use medical isotopes. We take all these medical isotopes for the purpose of medical applications of different kind. We take out radioisotopes for industrial and agricultural applications as well. So somehow, if you see the actual waste in India, we are we are producing out of the nuclear cycle is minimal. It's minimal. So that depends, as I'm saying. So you might have concerns, but it depends on you how you are ready to tackle it, because you know it is the requirement. Another issue is radiations. Yes, you all know, you can see this image. We all are living in a world full of radiations of different kind. And as the Dr. Ghosh was mentioning, we all are the part of nature. So radiations or everything is not what the man has created. It's already there in the nature. They already have the mechanism in your system to deal with it. So radiations are still, I would say, they are not harmful. Of course, anything excess is harmful. Even if you eat a lot of McDonald's burgers in one go, you may feel sick in a while. So the excess of anything is, of course, not good for you. But still, the radiations are not that concerned. And you during the boot camp, you realize why I say so. We have the solution of everything. The radiations, we try to maintain so many barriers that nothing comes out of any nuclear facility. There are many processes which nuclear industry follow to make and to maintain the environment and the people safe. Nuclear is one of the industry which focuses mainly on safety. Very important aspect is the accident. You all know, you all have heard of Three Mile Island accident, the Chernobyl accident, and recently the Fukushima one. Everyone talks about it like, you say whatever happens, we maintain it, but one disaster, can cause thousands of life, and millions of people are affected, and this and that. Of course, it's an industry. I cannot deny that accident will not happen or accident have not happened. But if you see in due course of time, the technology is improving. Uh, the system is also improving. People are also thinking in more and more how to make reactors safe, and the evolution of technology is basically focusing more on how to reduce the possibility of these accidents, and also how to minimize the effects of it. So I would say, if you want to compare, like Chernobyl was a nuclear accident, I would say. It was the nuclear disaster because the explosion was of its kind. However, the explosion which happened at Fukushima was of industrial kind. There was the hydrogen accumulation and hydrogen explosion took place on the reactor, but the accident was initiated by the tsunami. And I want to mention here, which most of the people are not told about, when the tsunami struck at the Fukushima reactors, it shut down. This is the safety aspect we have. It triggered the earthquake, and this earthquake was enough to trigger the reactor shutdown and come to the safe state. So you understand the technology which was designed and implemented 60 years back, it worked even today, and that's how you design your reactors. Of course, things went wrong when the expected height of the waves was much higher than that, and this happened for the first time there. So things went wrong, and other things keep on happening. So now people are thinking, if such a thing can happen, what could be the possible solutions? And we have already worked it out, because nuclear industry is not like when things will happen, then we'll think. They keep on thinking on improving. So even before the Fukushima happened, we had the solutions which we already planned to implement in our latest, as we all say, the generation 4 reactors or the advanced reactors. We were already planning to implement it, but Fukushima happened, unfortunately. So now we are again implementing them, and we are also changing the designs of all the power plants. Like earlier, we used to have some barriers where you can directly have the plants at the seashore, but now we are thinking of having some different kind of design, so that even if tsunami comes, the wave should not hit in this manner. So all these sort of measures are very well studied. We learn from our mistakes, and we try to keep on improving. So that's all from my side for today. I'm sure you will learn all these queries. You'll up from this boot camp. You will get to know a lot about details of how radiations are not harmful, how nuclear reactor functions, and what are the important aspects of nuclear technology, how we actually manage our nuclear waste, and why it is important to learn and focus more on this technology. You will also get to know more about fission to fusion transformation. Like the world is now focusing on fusion technology, and we are having one fusion reactor under construction nearby my place. So as they say, we are trying to generate the phenomenology which is there in stars to generate energy here at the Earth, in our very own planet. So how everything works out, keep questioning yourself. I'm asking all of you. It's not for the students only, it's all of us who need to question it, like why it is really important to bring this change now. This is the need of the hour, I would say. This is the situation of emergency globally. We are not only dealing with the pandemic of corona, we are also dealing with a much bigger aspect, which is the climate change. And we should do everything all together to stop it, or to at least arrest it to such a momentum, like for the our future generation, they should not be overburdened with this. So energy mix is the solution, and nuclear is the solution for the base load supply, and we should keep working towards it. So with and I think now you could relate these two pictures. This is me taking selfie with Vinita ma'am, and that's all from my side. Any questions, please? You're free to ask now.
Minute short, we're taking a short 4 minute break. And after the break, we have another round of very exciting stuff planned for all the viewers, which includes more sessions from actual scientists and a very exciting exclusive live visit to an irradiation facility at Nuvia. So I request all of you to stay tuned and be right back after 4 minutes to watch more of the Energy Bootcamp. And meanwhile, I shall be playing a video that showcases the feedback from many of the students who participated in the Energy Bootcamp. So see you all in 4 minutes. Thank you.
And today I am going to talk about my experience. I have learned the working of the nuclear reactor, the theory of thermodynamics and electromagnetism, and I have also understood many concepts of life.
Hi, this is Nikhilesh from Vice-Chancellor. This was a very helpful and insightful experience to understand the complex part of science and
I am Shiv Nadar from Shiv Nadar School, Faridabad. The Energy Bootcamp has provided me with wonderful opportunities in a short span of time. I learned many things about nuclear energy which I didn't know before, and completely changed the way I looked at it. Earlier, I used to be against nuclear energy because of the nuclear bombs and associated it with war, but I had no idea about its use in agriculture, medicine, and energy generation.
I'm delighted to be part of this bootcamp, and the sessions provided by IYNS had a lot to learn along with fun. And the way Sir has related nuclear energy with our daily activities was awesome. Energy Boot Camp was one of the best programs I ever attended. And the program was full of learning and fun. And the best part of the program was the creation of the galaxy and the virtual nuclear reactors. Overall, I had an amazing time and it was quite interesting. What I was expecting, it was more than that. The virtual learning experience was very sensitive and learned a lot from LHC bootcamp. And the most important part is that I enjoyed every bit of the session and done the experiment successfully. Hey, Mishra from Madagascar. Listen, the best scientist is always helping students in his activities with his innovative ideas. I inspired to think differently on complex science experiments. I was in contact with him through email and he made me think so differently on science. He posed such questions at me that made me think differently and scientifically and made me research more and more in my field. We are very thankful to him for making us better thinkers and we would love to continue this process with him. They will explain why we can't explain why. And then it's what we can't explain. We'll show you.
Okay, so am I audible? Yeah. Hello?
Yes, you are. You're
Yeah,
audible.
fine. Very good morning to uh, everyone present here, all the dignitaries and dear students. So, like we have been interacting for about a month on and off now. And so, let me just go to the presentation. So, my objective is today in this presentation is not to go into the technical details of nuclear science, and mine is just a trailer of what all you would be coming to see in the course of the 2 days. And apart from that, what I would wish is like if all can appreciate the role of nuclear sciences in helping us understanding the very fundamentals of our own existence, of the reality. So I'm going to take a, a brief detour from, we are concerned about the future, right? But as of now, I would like to take a small detour into the past, where these new technologies were being developing, some interesting stories, and from the historic point of view, and how these changes came up, and the life of scientists associated with that. So with that brief, I would like to, like, I hope my presentation is visible.
Yes.
Okay. I'm just going to start with the slide. So what I'm going to be sharing in Energy Bootcamp is a brief story of science. Just a many parts of the story I'm missing, but just go with the like the flow. And if there is anything that you would like to like ask in the end, please make sure you can very open to ask these questions. So let me like start the journey from a very what do you say from a 0 point. When we say 0 point, it basically means that it's all empty. Like imagine a time before the Big Bang. It's like that. Let's start from that point. Like if we can simply close our eyes and like when we sit for meditation, it's like that. It's first everything is empty. Let's start from there and see what through science we have understood, and we can all relate to that. So let's start with that. It's all empty. It's also dark. But let's begin the journey no matter what. From that, can we make the smallest mark? So when we proceed, to make the smallest mark in this entire dark space, of course the answer would be to make a small dot. So dot is a way to point a location in space, and so when we join all the dots dot by dot, if we add like a string of beads, and then we can say that dot 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 forms a line. So line is one-dimensional unit of measurement, and when line by line students stand, they cover a huge area of land. So what when line is one dimension, then when we have line in 2 dimensions, we get area, and page by page pile up in space would cover an empty space. So the third dimension which we are introducing is the volume, that is space. Okay, so we are first entering the space dimension, which everybody of us can physically, objectively like feel and know and measure, right? So these are all the tools which we use to measure the world that we are living in, and I'm just introducing the first basic physical dimension, that is of space, that can be 0D, 1D, 2D and 3D, right? So apart from space, so is there any other dimension which we would need to keep place? For example, this meeting that we are having, we are spatially in different dimensions, but there is one dimension which is matching for all of us, and that's different from space, and that dimension is time, right? So with introducing space and time, infinite space-time dimension here, and right after the Big Bang, the current theory, this space-time started to get filled up with something or the other. We just entering empty space-time, and it is what do you say, filling up the, and in how many ways can we, how can we fill up this empty space? So one way, if we touch the room that we are sitting in, so there can be light, which is a form of energy. We will enter into that, and there can be some heavy matter. So light is that we see, and just seeing from the what we can sense, feel, touch and hear from the senses that our body already has. So it has some marks, so touch, feel, smell and hear it. Apart from that, there are certain instances which we might have felt, and that would be different. Like suppose there is an electrical wire that is going on, and we might feel a shock. So presence of shock requires a new kind of and we see magnets, how they behave. So that require a new kind of property, that is charge and magnetism, electricity and magnetism. So that is one more property of the matter which we observe. Is nothing that I'm going to discuss here is something which is being assumed. You just question and observe the universe, and you get to see all these things. And these are all theories that like later came forward to. So we have charge, we have mass, we have light, and there is some link in between them. So these are the very dimensions which I like to introduce there, and we will, things will get in a way more advanced. Okay, so we know that sound too that we hear is something related to matter, mass, and it is basically vibrating matter in a certain frequency which our ears can catch. The same way, light is also an electromagnetic wave. It is also related. It is related to electromagnetism. Sound is related to matter, right? So that is also a form of frequency, okay, of vibrations. And in this case, it is that of electromagnetic waves. And here it is a matter wave. Sound is a matter wave. This is an electromagnetic wave. So let me just proceed further. So we know that mass causes gravity. Newton had formulated the equation in the mid 1600s itself, like in 80s. That was the time when the whole theory of gravity. So relatively, this was an easy puzzle to solve about gravity, since the measurements that were already taken by previous astronomers easily fit in with the mathematics developed, calculus and all that were developed at that time, because whatever that is there, we could see, measure it. Okay, so it was the one part of the problem, and other things that we could see and measure were easy to be understood, like electricity. Okay, what is the source of lightning and all other phenomena which although the fundamental was not known, but at least the phenomena, what happens, and all those things were a little bit known to us. But understand that at that time, nobody understood the basic particles within the atom. So that was that era, like pre-radioactive era, where people had theories on what is going on, but what exactly is happening and how it is happening, that was some box. Okay, so we also know about magnetism. So, and this is something which we know, that how the Earth's magnetic field, it protects us from the sun's radiation, and the very beautiful northern lights that you might see when we visit the North Pole or the South Pole. It is caused by the interaction of the solar winds and the charged particles in the atmosphere, or the charge induced by it, and the way they migrate towards the poles, like how charge accelerates in a magnetic field. So it is very much similar to what the CERN experiment is saying. The Earth is like the little magnetic coil, and it is protecting us from the Earth's dimension. And we behind magnetism, but we will see that later. Like there are different types of magnetic materials, and their use is very like it's everywhere. Like especially in the renewable energy sector, it's all about magnet, because finally you have to rotate a turbine, and the magnetic field strength should be very high, especially the windmills and electric vehicles, modern technology. It's all about having a very good, like, strong magnet. So over time, the link between electricity and magnetism was revealed, that okay, current carrying conductor generates a magnetic field, or a magnetic field, and if we have a conductor which is moving, then an electric current can be induced. So this motor and generator in the 1800s, 1820s and 30s, these parts were being covered, and the theory were being developed. But still, please, like, appreciate that these were all developed without knowing what is inside the atom. Okay, so these were all the theories that were developed without knowing what is exactly inside the atom. Okay, so these are some of the advances in the physics part. Yes, any doubts?
Nikhilesh sir, I think there is you have pinned this because PPT what you are showing is not visible. Only first PPT is visible, and we cannot see anything what you are showing. Thank you very much. Sorry for interruption.
Okay, thanks for pointing out. I don't know why it's just.
Now it's changed. Thanks to Minambika ma'am for pointing me out, and yeah, even I observed.
Okay, ma'am, are you able to see?
Yes, now.
Okay, ma'am. So I will just yeah. Okay, I think I'll start from this slide. Like,
can quickly in 1 minute you can quickly go through all this in 1 minute, and then you come here. Thank you, sir, because it's a beautiful presentation what we're speaking.
Yes, ma'am. So I'll just start with the whole thing. So we first simply introduce the very basic dimensions of physics, like dot. We might be measuring it for such a long time, right? Dot, line, area, volume. So these are the basic dimensions of space, and apart from that, we introduce the unit of time. So we are in space. Time, we are going to fill it up in the space and time. So let's have a physically understanding of what's going on. So we can either fill it up with light, or we can fill it up with mass, which we can touch, hear, feel, or smell, and light we can see. And there is certain properties which can only be understood by introducing a concept called charge and magnetism. So, and there is some link between them. We came to know that sound that we hear is a form of vibration of matter, and that vibration, the range of vibration should be such that our ears can hear it. And the same for electromagnetic radiation. There is a specific range which our eyes can see, and so that is something interesting as well, that our eyes are and ears have been evolved to actually perceive that which is in more abundant later part. But as of now, we know that the easy parts of the science problems are being solved before the understanding of what is inside the atom. Ages for like it was for more than thousands of years, what was assumed that atom itself is a misnomer now, because atom itself is defined as indivisible. Okay, before it was a misnomer, before people actually large spheres like the planets that you see here, that is how the atoms are. This is the science before that. Okay, so just see the two different eras of science and the development that was happening there. So mass could explain gravity, electricity could also explain some properties of like how lightning is happening and other phenomena. Magnetism also explains certain properties like how certain stones are able to attract iron and some other magnetic properties of the earth and many other things that are like a compass and for navigation for sailors much earlier developed even for the future technology. And so the link between electric motor and generator was established in the by the 1800 1870s 60s itself. And at that point of time the atom was yet to be like fully broke open. Okay, we haven't yet solved the puzzle of atom, but still by simply observing the property of matter and doing experiments, these results were obtained. So chemists were breaking the atoms, see how the different elements combined together, what atom is made up of. So that was a very fundamental question they were answering. And this is Dmitry Mendeleev, who came up with the periodic table based on atomic mass. Since mass was easy to measure and chemical properties were also measured, so this was based on atomic mass, that how much the certain atom weighed, element weighed. So based on that, these calculations were made. And this picture is of Mendeleev's mother, Maria Mendeleev. So there's just one little insight about the life of Mendeleev when he was. Yes, ma'am. Is it?
Cannot see the next PPT again. So I think you are pinning it. So you are not, when you are saying the PPT is not matching with what you are saying. You have to change it.
I think is there a lag? Okay. Ma'am, I hope now the PPT of Mendeleev is there. We can see the periodic table. Like I'm at the page where I'm showing the page of Mendeleev. Like for my screen is showing that. So, you know what's the? Just a second. Okay. Fine. Yeah.
Even if you do slideshow, it will happen.
Yes, ma'am. I think I will just instead of. Yeah. I think if that is the issue, then I'll just continue from here. I think if this is equally visible, if I can just scroll down and because I think some presentation. Yeah, I think if this is fine, I can. Yeah. Okay. So I might just. Yeah. So this is the picture of Mendeleev. He came up with the periodic table and arranging the elements of periodic table based on atomic mass. And this is Maria Mendeleev, mother of Dmitry Mendeleev. And this, if you see this map here, and there are 2 points connected by between Moscow and Tobolsk, and we can imagine the distance. It would be more than 1,000 miles. Okay, 1,500 miles approximately. So that much distance was covered by Maria Mendeleev, who, when Mendeleev was young, their whole family, more than 7 to 8 people of their family passed away in a fire accident. So Maria Mendeleev, during Russian winters, she took Mendeleev on a horse. Imagine a horse ride in a winter, and she took her from Tobolsk to Moscow to get him admitted in the university. So that was the effort Maria Mendeleev put, and Mendeleev's passion comes partly from his mother, Maria Mendeleev. So just wanted to share this little historic insight about about him. So whatever that we have known before is all about what is matter and that it is made up of atom. But the atom was not broken. Today we know that it is made up of proton, neutron and electrons, and that these particles itself is made up of more composite particles. Let's not get into that. But these are all the things that was known only later. So we'll get to see how did that happen. So one of the biggest change, or one, I would say arguably the biggest revolutionary experiment in science, was carried out by Rutherford, Giger and Marsden. So what they did was to use radioactivity to understand matter. So we will obviously learn more about what are these radioactivity and what are these particles. So alpha particle, which consists of 2 protons and 2 neutrons, which is positively charged particles, that was hit on a gold foil. And what was observed was that most of the alpha particles simply pass through. That means most of the atom is empty and the positive charge is only concentrated in the center, as only a few of the alpha rays got deflected back. So using this detector, what was observed, like imagine that you're firing a cannon and we assume that there is a wall and that the wall should stop it. But what actually happened was that everything was passing through the wall, as if the wall itself is not there. So that was surprising, because we assume that atoms are hard spherical particles, but what actually turned out to be was that it's mostly empty and there is only some concentrated positive charge in the center. And what was puzzling was the two positive charges repel each other. How are they held together? So that was one more big puzzle. Like, this is +2 charge, and how is it held together? So there must be a much more stronger force, right? So that is how the whole idea of the structure of atom began to change. So later changes happened when the arrangement of electrons surrounding the central nucleus changed. First, the nucleus was understood that the positive charge is in the center. Then how the electrons are arranged, that began to change. And Niels Bohr's experiment made us understand that there is a fingerprint for each and every atom. And this graph, I would like to just simply make understand, these are all different levels of energy. And when electrons fall from a higher to lower level of energy, it releases it in the form of light, and each light has a specific energy and a specific fingerprint. So just as we have an Aadhaar card or our own fingerprint, each and every atom has its own fingerprint, which is very unique to it. So that is how we know that star is made up of hydrogen. All the development, like moon, is there a water in Mars? Is there any like water in moon? All these predictions that we are making is because we know the spectra. Because light is the only source of information we are getting from places that we are yet to visit. Okay, so whole understanding mainly from the spectroscopy. So that is one part where the whole thing changed, and we know that light is small part of the visible spectrum. And some hard spectra like gamma rays, X-rays are ionizing. That means they can excite the electrons and pull it off the atom. And these are non-ionizing, harmless rays, which do not cause any like damage to the like integrity of the atom. And so we see how the atomic model developed just after radioactivity. So for years, even before Democritus, even in India, we had this theory of Anu and Dvinuka, Trinuka, and many such concepts were already developed during that time. But the insight into the nature of atom happened only after the discovery of radioactivity. And we see this jump in the model, like how Rutherford discovered the positive proton, and then Bohr changed the model, and then neutron was discovered. And to give an insight, so J.J. Thomson, who came with the model of electron, is the teacher of Rutherford. And Rutherford, he proved his teacher's model wrong and came up with a better model, which was again proved wrong by student of Rutherford, who is Chadwick, and he changed the model. So in science, like Dr. Nitendra also emphasized, like keep questioning. There are no authorities in science. Okay, we are just here and trying to understand the universe. That's it. That's all we are. By like the story of science keeps on advancing when we question what is right and what is wrong. So that is the methodology of science. We cannot stop anywhere and say no, questioning is hurting people's sentiments or in that direction. There is no such scope in science for that. So that is where the whole story of the like how radioactivity came in, and that is where like we now know about many important basic aspects of chemistry also. Like unless together and understand the nature of atom, the world that we are living in would be impossible, because the material that we are using would be impossible. The understanding of our biology would be impossible. So one Nobel Prize for his contribution to chemistry, and he was someone who understood the pattern from the periodic table. But periodic table would not have advanced from if not for radioactivity. And this periodic table is based on atomic number, which is the number of proton discovered using experiments of radioactivity. So without the discovery of radioactivity, this whole like arguably the beautiful piece of puzzle solved by humankind, this periodic table of element, it won't be known to us. So that is what I would like to emphasize on. And in the content that we have shared, the text part which is available in the website, it's a 100-page big booklet there, where we have dwelled more on this in the first part of it. And now from physics part, let's move a little bit into the chemistry. Like chlorine is a deadly gas, sodium is a corrosive metal, but together it becomes common salt. So these are certain interesting insights that we understand because we understand the nature of atom and the nature of interaction between the protons and the electrons. Okay, so the next, we also understand how certain reactions absorb heat, certain reactions release heat, and we use these exothermic reactions for generating energy. So this heat will boil the water, and that is used to rotate the turbine, and we connect, like we then generate electricity using a generator. So what is the source of this energy? Chemical energy, for example, in coal, gas, and all the power, it is the sources in the chemical bonding, the nature of chemical bond. There are different types of, I don't want to go into that, but the energy range is it's a very small energy range. The heat that is here, there's a definite some kilojoules, some hundreds of kilojoules that which is used, that is generated, and it is transition of electrons. It is making and sharing of electrons as it is. There is no change in the atom. Chlorine is chlorine, nitrogen is nitrogen, oxygen is oxygen. Just the electrons that is they are being shared. That arrangement. So chemistry is known as central science because it connects to all other branches of, especially biology and physics. So and how it known as chemical evolution, and that is where we understand how atoms come together to form molecules. These molecules form complex structures, and these structures together can give birth to life. And this is a very big piece of puzzle being solved in this current century. And the whole puzzle of life and death is we now have even more definitive answers, and it would be no surprise that in the 21st century, life will be created, like right from the dead atoms. So this is something which is being pursued. And here also, there is an application of radioactivity, that is the radioisotopes of carbon and nitrogen, which emits radiation that is used to understand all the mechanisms that is going inside. The role of radioactivity will come in about these changes. So in all these things, the role of radioactivity, again, you will come to see in the applications part. So I'm just giving a small trailer about what all things are happening. And like, for example, this is the DNA structure. It is again made up of atoms. It is not some ribbon like double helix that's generally seen. It is all, that is a more macro structure, but basically they too are also made up of atoms. And how you can change the arrangement of DNA, even in that radiation plays a role. Like how you can break a DNA, attach a new molecule, and make different types of crops that have better yield and better pest resistance, and all that you can also see that in the application. So basically, if you see the level of organization, we start from the atom. There are even much more smaller levels of organization that is inside the nucleus also. But let us see how it becomes: molecules, cell, tissue, organs. So that is the continuity of sciences from physics to chemistry to biology. And I hope like the bridge is now being built just of science, and some more to be built. We'll be building it further. Okay, so that is when we ask more tougher questions, like what is the galactic evolution? So if you see that the current theory, what it says is that the world that we are living in, okay, it did not like come up like suddenly. Okay, so it took a lot of like billions of years, and that it started with a big bang where the whole universe was basically consisting of hydrogen and helium only, and there were supernovas and stars, and within the stars all the higher elements were being produced, from hydrogen to uranium, and higher elements were all forming inside the stars by different processes, not be explained by gravity or even it needs a totally new theory of what is happening inside of the nucleus to understand that a different kind of stuff is going on inside the star, and that later led to the formation of solar system and formation and life. And this is our current position, and we are in a way, imagine like we are the universe asking itself a question. It's like we are taking our own, the universe is taking its own selfie through us. If we understand the philosophy of science, so that is what basically is going on. And we are asking this question, what is it made up of, what we are doing here, and what is this universe, and all the curiosity, the inherent curiosity that is coming out. Okay, so please understand that the origin of radiation is the Big Bang itself, or else we would never understand that there was a Big Bang, because our source of information is light only. Understand that the natural radiation is everywhere, in the plants, in the everywhere. Okay, and just like fire mastered, this is the age where we have mastered radiation and all the properties of atoms, and like there has been a big we have, if we not fully, but there has been a big leap, and we understand types of radiation and how we can stop them, what is their penetration, their properties. More you will be learning, and they will explain it in a more detailed way. So this is one aspect of it, and if we see how this is used to like use for protection purpose, and the applications of radioactivity, the same radiation like the fire is like the knife in the hand of a culprit or a murderer is harmful, but doctor can save a life. The same with radiation, like we can kill a tumor, or we can cause harm, or we can blow up the entire city, but understand that it is our intentions that matter. And we come to see how science plays a bigger role in that also, on how we can morally take better choices by, and there has been many applications of radioisotopes we'll be seeing later. So let's proceed. So some more fundamental difficult questions, like what's happening inside the sun, how higher elements are when smaller elements and bigger elements break also. So that is where we enter into of the issue, that is the nuclear reactions and radioactivity that was discovered by Becquerel and Curie couple, Marie Curie and Pierre Curie, and later many people added on and chimed in to develop the whole Curie, and understand that the development of the quantum model, or the understanding of the atom, and development of radioactivity were going together with each other. They are like the two helix of the DNA, if you can imagine. Like either it can be a fusion of smaller isotopes to bigger isotopes or elements, or one bigger element can break and both release enormous amount of energy. Because please understand, like we saw in the chemical reaction, atoms were not changing, only electrons. The atom itself is changing, and the strong force is so strong that more than like a million times more energy is reactions. So that is why capacity density factors comes in. Like why this like you will come across many a times, like why like one small amount of uranium is enough to like generate electricity, whereas you need a lot of coal. Please understand, like the when we talk of coal, the energy range is that of strength is 1/137 electromagnetic energy range, whereas when we talk of strong force, we can see here that it is easily 100 times more or 1000 times more, but when we see the actual reaction, it is even million times more. Okay, so these are the fundamental forces, and without the discovery of nuclear sciences and radioactivity, the two biggest puzzles, like strong and weak forces, and again within the weak force, if you have touch with CERN and the experiment which we are doing breaking, is like they're further breaking down the protons and neutrons also, and seeing what is much more fundamental, the string theory, the Higgs boson, and the large hard collider experiments, the other developments inside with the discovery of the strong force, right? So with that, like let's in the next slide we could see that how the there, and the origin is the force itself. Here we are using the strong force to using the chemical electrochemical energy to bring about the change, like for basically boiling the water and rotating the turbine. So the energy itself is very different, and see that since this source of energy is within the atom, like if there is wind or not, if there is sunlight or not, all these things does not matter. If you have uranium and you have the setup to make this reaction sustainable, then you can proceed. And we see that the energy calculation was given by Einstein's famous E equal to mc square. Although this is a short version of the equation, it is not the final equation, but is the approximated equation. Please keep that in mind. But the equivalence of energy comes because we are multiplying, we are simply converting a small fraction of mass that is getting converted. So what it means is that the nuclear reaction between the reactant and the product, the mass is not individually conserved. If we take 10 gram of A, 10 gram of B, we will get 20 gram of C. But here you are going to get 19.99 grams only. Okay, and that 0.01 grams is going to be by a huge factor that is 10 to the power 16 and going to release an enormous amount of energy. So that is the origin of the energy here, right? So let's fission reaction for breaking the atom, fuse the atom, then it also generates much more amount of energy, and that is what is happening inside the stars. And we know that because of from the spectrum that we are getting and from the calculations, from the energy calculations, and by doing that simulation. So this is what is happening inside the sun. Smaller elements are coming together to become larger elements, and that is how we have so many different elements both on earth and in the universe itself. Okay, so the star with the sun within the earth that is being constructed, that is ITER. It's a collaborative project between different groups of nuclear scientists of different nations. So this is another point which we have to emphasize: geopolitical environment, and many a times the political environment sometimes inclines towards war. Goal of scientists and that of nuclear scientists have been to establish peace, because we know the harmful side of this, and by establishing peace, these experiments, like just one country is participating, there is so much of cross collaboration that we feel like being in the same planet. We have we transcend the national borders, and we call ourselves like global earthlings or earth citizens, and that changes the way how we consciously see the world and the society itself. And to understand the philosophy that emerges from this understanding, like Carl Sagan gave a very famous quote that the nitrogen that is in our DNA, the calcium that's in our teeth, the iron in our blood, the carbon in our apple pies are made in the interiors of collapsing stars, and we are made up of that star stuff. So imagine as one of the dignitaries definitely pointed out that science cannot answer all the questions, but it can definitely find a better route to find the answers and to eliminate the wrong answers. Imagine if we as a society understood this, even at a deeper philosophy, many of the social issues that we face today, the wars that is happening, and institutions that were very oppressive, like be it gender oppression, be it in terms of poverty or that is happening, or caste oppression, or any social issue that you can think of, or the political scenario that we see so much divide and polarizing, and so much of fake news that is being like propagated on both sides of the political spectrum. So what we see here is what is lacking is the role of rationality. And since rationality is not there, we are unable to filter the information properly and see what is going on. And suppose if we really understood that we are actually made up of these stuff, then all these inequalities and oppressive system, we would definitely have more empathy and compassion for each other. So that's why I feel like the understanding of science is very fundamental to answer some of the ethical aspects also, and to see, and we will be very humble that our position in this universe is a very small position, and we should appreciate the life that we have, because it's very unique, and you don't we are going to experience this life once only, and we don't know what's going to happen. So with that in mind, so if we develop an understanding of science, and it helps us overcome the fear and irrationality, and with this I feel like not just on the but even philosophically, ethically, and morally also, science plays a crucial role, and it integrates with arts to make a better society. And by questioning these and by continuous process of questioning is how we evolve. And so Mary Curie gave a very famous quote, like, nothing in the life is to be feared, it's only to be understood, and now is the time to understand more so that we may fear less. So I think with that I would like to end the presentation, and like to open for any questions.
antimatter to produce energy?
Sorry, antimatter to produce energy. Today it's hypothetical. That's all I can say. From a position of ignorance, that's all we can say. Today we are trying to understand that, but today it's hypothetical, and maybe your generation can take us closer to the reality. So I think that's a very good topic, and I would request Ghazal who asked the question to pursue this question with full enthusiasm and give us some answers. Yeah, it is possible, and there are such like a lot of research is going in that fundamental, like physics aspect, like very fundamentals of physics. And,
Okay, I think in that case we have room for one more question. So I think this one is from Atharv Dabwal, who is asking about the presentation. Who was Carl Sagan?
Okay, yeah. So Carl Sagan, he's an American astrophysicist first, and most importantly, he is a very prominent science communicator. And for both Nitendra, myself, and all the team of IYNS, everybody would know him, and we are trying to emulate him, or like we wish to take forward. Like doing sciences lab is one thing, and coming up with complicated theories on stuff which like people hardly understand, or like even scientists hardly understand what is the other scientist is doing. That's a fact. I don't understand much of what biology people are doing or what doctors are doing, and from that to like make things easy, and to make people understand the crux of science and how people can connect science to their daily life, and bridging science and arts together and human life together, and giving talks to children, public shows, talks, and all that to children, opening themselves to the public scrutiny is a very fearless act. And we are actually a bit saddened that many Indian scientists are yet to come out of that, what do you say, barrier. Like we can only count them, but we hope that in future more will be more open to public interaction also, like to discuss the science, and they carry forward. And Carl Sagan, like if you see the series Cosmos, you will find a lot of like I would request everybody to watch Cosmos. It's one of the most wonderful documentary where you will also understand the origin of universe, also about radioactivity, stories of different scientists, and how like many scientists fearlessly fought like fundamentalism and like imposition, even religious imposition, and like all the authority figure very boldly like question these things to make sure that we are at the place we are today, or else these discussions would not have been happening. These all would have been blasphemy at some point of time. And that is the spirit of science. It's not about disrespecting. It's simply from a position of ignorance that we cannot understand the universe fully, and we are open to disagreements and open to revision, basically. That our theories have to be revised over a period of time. It's not about like disrespect. It's more about a position of like that. And Carl Sagan made people understand that and bring about that scientific change in the society to see the human side of science. And yeah, yes, ma'am.
May I ask
Yes.
So, Nikhilesh sir, you are our rocking star. As I always say, all 5 campuses students, we will watch that Cosmos movie together one evening. And please spare some time, maybe next month, because this month you are very busy. Thank you so much.
Sure, ma'am. Like that would be a good like event plan. Like if we see an episode of Cosmos and have a discussion on that, it would be a good like.
Make sure that we all do, and we all.
We have been doing that with I've been doing that with my children here. Even a Hindi version is available. Very good Hindi version is available that I've been doing, and that has opened up the whole idea of science. And all the people think that science is a very it's a hard subject, it's a mysterious and all that. No, we are like living with it on day-to-day basis. Right from the toothpaste to like when we go to sleep, everything there is some insight, and we know it. It's not like we already know it, and we also don't know a lot. That's the position. Like, let's not get very like that's what I wish to feel like and share. Yeah. And let's not get too emotionally worried about like whether do we know it fully or not, or whether we get marks or not, and all that. And just enjoy the journey of life and celebrate it. So maybe that is what I feel is the philosophy of science also. Is to thank you.
Thank you so
and ma'am, just my comment from my side, since I've been engaging with it, and I'm more than like grateful, and my heart is full to have this interaction with the students and teachers. And as part of IYNS, we really request to keep shooting questions, suggestions, disagreements. We would love to hear that, like, what is your view? I don't think what you are saying is right. You are simply making things up. We love to hear it. Like, we would request people to bring this disagreements and whatever it might be, like on any platform, and we would like to open it and continue this interaction further. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. I think science communication is a very important and commendable initiative that you were taking up, and I think we owe a lot to you and other scientists at IYNS for taking this up. Unfortunately, due to the time crunch, we will not be able to take up all the questions during the live event. But as I noted previously, we have saved all the questions, and we will be making sure that your questions get answered and the answers reach you in some form or the other. So thank you so much, Nikhilesh sir, for that wonderful presentation. I'm sure everyone learned a lot from it. And now we'll be moving on to another very exciting presentation, which is actually not a presentation, but a live exclusive trip to an irradiation facility at Nuvia, which will be supervised by Mr. Jehaan Nicholson. So let's start with the live trip. Sir, you are on mute. Could you please unmute yourself?
Okay, hi. So first of all, good morning to all of you. And there is a slight miscommunication, I believe, because I'm not taking the Nuvia trip. It will be done by Kritika Kaur. I am taking the lecture on the basics of radioactivity and radio protection. So I will start with that, and then we will have the Nuvia trip.
Yes.
So I hope you all can see my screen.
Yes, sir.
All right, perfect. So let's start with the basics of radioactivity. We are in the energy boot camp about nuclear, and radioactivity is, I would say, for that. So in this lecture, I will cover just the basics of atomics, or I'll just remind you what Nikhilesh said. Then I'll go on to the radiation, types of radiation, characteristics, then from there sources of ionizing radiation. So I'll first explain what ionizing radiations are, and then the concepts of radioactivity, half-life, contamination, protection, etc. So to start with, I just have the atomic structure of helium over here. And if you see, we have two protons, two neutrons in the nucleus, and you've got electrons revolving around it. And so using this example, we can write a symbol for that element. The symbol for each element is unique, and it is determined, and so each element is determined by the number of protons, which is number. All right. So as I said before, inside the nucleus, you've got protons and neutrons. Those two together form up the nucleons. Okay, so nucleus, nucleons, and the sum of the protons and neutrons will give you the mass number, A. And we will continuously be using the term A and Z throughout this talk. Now, outside the nucleus, we have electrons. And as you can see, the protons are positively charged, the electrons are negatively charged, and the atom as a whole will be neutral. But for nuclear science, for radioactivity, we are not much interested in the electrons which is revolving around the nucleus. We'll basically focus on the nucleus itself. So, what is radioactivity? Because I've been talking about radiation, radioactivity. So basically radioactivity is the spontaneous emission of fragments or particles or bundles of energy from an energetic nuclei, creating more stable nuclei. So the reason I use the term energetic nuclei is because you see in the universe, everything wants to go back to the most basic or fundamental energy level, or the most or the lowest energy level possible. So yeah, even like when you go out to play or something, and when you come back home, you're full with energy, your heart is pumping, and when you come back home, all you want to do is just sit, drink some cold water, sit under the fan, and just cool off. So get rid of that excess energy. So for your atoms, it is a similar concept. So basically, you will have the nucleus which will emit that excess of energy, or it will de-excite, give off that energy in the form of some radiations or some particles to form a more stable atom. So now the question is, where does this radiation come from? And the answer is obviously from radioactive or unstable atoms. But where exactly from that atom? So it is the nucleus which is which deals with the concept of radioactivity. So for example, you take uranium, you will remove all the electrons from the uranium, throw those electrons away, and you just have the nucleus of uranium in your hand. You will see that that is still radioactive. So radioactivity is a nuclear phenomenon, and that is why we have terms such as nuclear medicine and nuclear reactors. Now, you could say that why is it that some atoms like uranium would decay, whereas some like oxygen, nitrogen, which we breathe in on a daily basis, they don't. So the reason is that the nucleus is tightly packed with neutrons and protons, as you can see over here. And as you see, the neutrons are neutral, but the protons are positively charged. So when two protons will be coming close together, they will feel a force of repulsion. Now Nikhilesh explained about the strong force. So as the name suggests, that force is strong and it is attractive in nature. So that force tries to bring your nucleons together. So if your nucleus only had the two protons, which you can see over here, and no neutrons, then the strong force would be in competition with the force of repulsion, and it wouldn't be good. So when you add the neutrons to it, you have more of the strong force, which is attractive in nature, which binds the nucleus together in a way. So if you see stable atoms which have a lower atomic number or lower Z of 20 and less, they have a neutron to proton ratio of 1:1. So 20 neutrons, 20 protons, 10 neutrons, 10 protons. But as the number of protons increase, you need more and more strong force to keep all those nucleons together. So you need more and more neutrons in a way. For example, take an element which has 30 protons in the nucleus. Now, if you just look at that one proton, you will see that it is facing a force of repulsion from 29 other protons in that nucleus. And so to overcome that force of repulsion, you will need more and more neutrons. But as you keep adding more and more neutrons, you will see that the atom, not the atom, but the nucleus, it starts to become deformed. It will become like an American football. It will become elongated. And because of that, you have your atom or the nucleus, which becomes unstable, and it will decay. So you see at certain point, you have a neutron to proton ratio which increases up to 1.5, and above this, all your atoms will be radioactive. So any nucleus which has a neutron to proton ratio higher than 1.5 will be radioactive in nature. So over here, if we just have a quick look at this graph, you will see that on the x-axis we have the number of protons and the number of neutrons over here. And if you just look at the lower atomic number side, so that is for 20 protons, we see that the neutron to proton ratio is 1. right? So from this graph. But now as we start adding more and more protons to the nucleus, we see that the neutron to proton ratio, it starts to deviate. So for example, if you take 40 protons over here, you will see that when we have 40 neutrons in the nucleus, so 40 protons, 40 neutrons, the 1:1 ratio line, we see that we don't have any stable nuclei. The black points over here represent the stable nuclei basically. So for 40 protons, we get stable nuclei when the number of neutrons are about 50. And after element which has the atomic number 83, so that is bismuth, all your elements are radioactive. That is because your neutron to proton ratio increases so more than 1.5. So now what is this radiation? So this radiation is the transmission of energy via particles or waves. So the particles could be alpha particles, which is basically the helium nucleus, or you could have X-rays, you could have gamma rays, neutrons, electrons. So now the types of radiation. Basically, we can classify radiation into two types, which is ionizing and non-ionizing radiation. For my talk, I'll be focusing on ionizing radiation only. Nikhilesh explained the electromagnetic spectrum where he showed you all the radio waves, microwaves, etc., which are basically part of the non-ionizing radiation. So in the ionizing radiation, we have alpha rays, beta particles, gamma rays, X-rays, and neutrons. Now the question is, why is it called ionizing? Well, because it creates an ion. Now, an ion is an atom with a charge. So imagine you have an atom with, say, 10 protons. In the nucleus, you have 10 neutrons, so it'll be neon 20, your atom, and you have 10 electrons revolving around it. Now, when you remove that one electron from your atom, you will have a free electron which has a negative charge, and you will have your neon atom which has a positive charge on 10 protons which are positively charged, but it will have only 9 electrons which are revolving around it. So that pair of your atom which is positively charged and your electron which is negatively charged is an ion pair basically. And the process of removing this electron from the atom is called ionization. Also, any radiation which is called an ionizing radiation. So now this is a major question. It's like, if I am made of atoms, you're made of atoms, the laptop we're sitting in front of, everything is made of atoms, the walls around us. So is there radiation around us right now? And the answer is absolutely yes, there is radiation around us right now, and it is what we call as background radiation. And you see, so the radiation is coming from the Earth, it's coming from the cosmos, which is cosmic radiations. Even your bananas have some radioactivity in them because they contain so bananas are basically rich in potassium, and an isotope of potassium, which is called potassium-40, is radioactive in nature, and your bananas do contain some potassium-40 in them. So basically we are eating radiation, and the thing is, it's not harmful, because there is a certain amount of radiation which your body can tolerate. It is a certain amount of wear and tear which your body can tolerate and repair itself. Now we go on to the types of radiation. So as I said, an alpha particle, which is denoted by the Greek symbol alpha. It consists of 2 protons, 2 neutrons, and it is a positively charged particle. Then we have beta particles. Beta particles are positrons. Positron is the antiparticle of an electron. It is positively charged. So in fact, positron is an antimatter. And then we have gamma rays, which are basically photons. start with alpha radiations. So alpha rays are alpha radiation is the release of a helium nucleus from your nucleus, which is decaying. And so since it contains 2 protons, it has a charge of +2. It has a mass of 4. And because it is large, it is slow, it is heavy. And because of that, it does not have that much of penetrating capabilities. It can be stopped with a piece of paper, or even if you keep something like 4 centimeters of air between yourself and the source which emits the alpha particle, you are good to go. I mean, you're safe from that alpha radiation. So if you have an alpha emission, you will see that the mass number reduces by 4 and the atomic number will reduce by 2. So for example, if we take polonium 212, so it will have an atomic number of 84, mass number is 212. So when it emits an alpha particle, it will get converted to lead 208. So you see the mass decreases by 4 and the atomic number, it decreases by 2. So another example using uranium and thorium. So on the left hand side, what we have is called the parent nucleus. Then we get the daughter and the alpha particle. So if you notice over here, when you add the numbers on the left hand side and the right hand side, you see that the numbers must balance. The mass numbers and the atomic numbers, they must always balance. And if they are not balanced, then there is something wrong with the equation. So now the second type of radiation is beta radiation. So in beta radiation, we've got 2 types, which is called beta minus radiation and beta plus. In beta minus, we have a neutron, which converts into a proton and releases an electron. So the electron is ejected from the nucleus at a high speed, and it takes away that energy. So basically, you form a new element. The mass number over here, it stays the same, but your proton number, or your Z, increases by 1. In case of a beta plus decay, it is a proton which will get converted into a neutron, and a positron, so which is the antiparticle of the electron, will be emitted from the nucleus as a beta particle. Again, this positron and electron, they are very light compared to the alpha particle, which is huge and heavy, and these particles are quite swift or fast. And so for that, they are more, due to that, they are more penetrating in nature, and you can't stop them with a piece of paper anymore. You need something more durable, like an aluminium foil or something like wood. So just an example, you can see over here we have cesium 137. And so after it undergoes beta emission, which is basically the emission of an electron, you can see that the mass number, it remains the same, whereas the proton number, it increases by 1. So cesium will basically form barium. So this beta emission generally happens in neutron-rich nuclei. So those nuclei which have got excess of neutrons in them, they will undergo this type of beta emissions. In case of positron emission, or when you have a beta plus emission, it is due to the fact that your nucleus has got an excess of protons. And you can see if we use sodium-22 as an example over here. So sodium-22, after emission of a beta plus particle, it gets converted to neon. So again, the same case over here as before, the numbers must always balance. Now the third kind of radiation is gamma rays. So gamma rays are basically electromagnetic radiation, and they are highly energetic, short wavelength, high frequency, but the main thing you have to understand is they are highly energetic. They have no mass, no charge, so they don't undergo interactions using the Coulombic force like an electron or an alpha particle would. And so because they have no mass and charge, they are highly penetrating. They travel with the speed of light, and you require several centimeters of lead or concrete to stop them. So your gamma radiation basically follows your alpha decay or your beta decay, because what happens is when when the radioisotope undergoes alpha decay or beta decay, it still has some excitation energy left over, and it gives off that excess of energy in the form of a gamma ray. So now I was talking about the penetration ability of each of these radiations. So you can see the alpha particle, which is in red. You can stop that with a piece of paper. It's large, it's heavy. Now for beta particles, you need something like wood to stop them. And your gamma rays, which will even penetrate paper, wood, you need a few centimeters of concrete, a few centimeters of lead, or tens of centimeters of concrete. So now how do we quantify this radiation, or how do we say, okay, like this source is emitting so many radiations? So we use the term activity for that. We say that the source has an activity of X becquerel or X disintegrations per second. So basically what it is the number of emissions or the number of particles it is emitting per unit time. So for example, if you take a source which is emitting, say, 2 particles per second, it could be alpha, it could be beta, it could be gamma. You would say that the source has an activity of 2 dps or 2 disintegrations per second, right? And so 1 dps is basically 1 becquerel, which is, so this term becquerel we get from the French scientist Henri Becquerel, who did his work on radioactivity. Also, there's another term where when we have a large amount of activity, we use the term called Curie. Again, this term comes from another French-Polish scientist, Madame Curie, who basically coined the term radioactivity, and she discovered radium and polonium. And you see that 1 Curie is equal to 37 billion becquerels, or 37 billion disintegrations per second. So I have one task for all of you, and that is quite interesting. It is find out why 1 Curie is 37 billion disintegrations per second. Why specifically this number and not 40, not 10? The one hint which I will give you is that it has something to do with one of the elements which she discovered. And so find the answer to that and write to me or IYNS, and I assure you that it's so. After the activity, the other important topic is the half-life of a radioactive element. You see, each radioactive isotope or radioisotope has a unique half-life. For example, the cesium example which I showed you for beta decay, cesium has a half-life of 30 years. So what half-life exactly is? It is the amount of time your element would take, or it's the amount of time it would take for the number of initial is the amount of time it would take for the number of your atoms to become half of the initial number. So take for, you have like 100 atoms in the beginning. So after one half-life, you would have 50. Now, you would think that, okay, so after 2 half-lives, I would have 0, but that's not the case. You see, after 1 half-life, you have 50. After 2 half-lives, you'll have half of 50, which is 25. After that, you'll have 12 or 13, because you can't have 12.5, you can't have half an atom or half a nucleus. And if you see, as your radioactive atoms or radioactive nuclei decays, you will have stable nuclei which are forming. it won't be the case where your atoms or your nuclei just vanish into thin air, basically. And so in the first case, when you say t is equal to 0 or time is equal to 0, you have 100 or 100% of radioactive sample or radioisotopes. After one half-life, you will see a 50% stable nuclei, 50% radioactive. After two half-lives, it will be 25% radioactive, 75% stable, so on and so forth. So now your activity and your half-life is used to quantify a radioactive source. All right. And now when you're working with that radioactive source, there is always a chance that there might be some contamination. So now what radioactive contamination is, it is when a radioactive material is there in an unwanted place. So imagine you're working with, say, uranium powder as a source, and some of that gets stuck to your shoe over here, which is shown in this image. And now you start walking, you exit the lab, you're walking back home, and while you're walking now, some of that uranium gets deposited on the roads which you're walking. And so that is actually bad, because now instead of your sample being in a controlled environment, a controlled system, it is out in the outside world. And that is basically radioactive contamination. Although when we exit a radioactive lab, we have exit protocols which we follow. We have like measurements of our hands, legs, the whole body is scanned basically to see if we have some radioactive contamination on us. And if that is the case, we follow some more protocols where we scrub ourselves, remove that contamination, and then we can finally exit the lab. Okay, so now the contamination which I just spoke about was an external contamination. The other part, which is more dangerous, I would say, is an internal exposure or internal contamination. It is when you inhale or ingest your radiation and it is stuck inside your body. In that case, it will keep emitting so if a radioactive source gets trapped inside your body, it will keep emitting radiations inside your body. And well, your body will finally remove it through the biological processes, but it will take time. Until that time, you will be taking some radioactive dose. So internal exposure or internal contamination is very bad compared to your external exposure. So now the question is, why are we concerned about radiation? It's because, you see, you have ionizing radiation, so it will interact with the human cells, and more specifically the atoms on the human cells, and the atoms will form ions. Now when your atoms form ions, you basically have three options. One is there will be no change in the cell, it will be neutral, so you will have your ion pair, they will recombine, and everything is good and happy in the world. So there is no change. In another case, there is a lot of damage to your cell and the cell dies. Now in the third case, there is a change or mutation in the cell. DNA strand gets ripped apart, something like that. So in the first case, when there is no change, everything is good, there's no problem in that. Now in the last two cases, if the cell dies, it will be replaced with your normal biological activities, or it could not be replaced. If it's not replaced, again, it's bad, because then you have a dead, decaying cell inside your body and it can be harmful. But now if we take a case where your cell is alive, but it has mutated, it has changed, and when that cell reproduces, you could either have a benign growth, so a growth, a lump which is not harmful, or you could have something which is malignant, cancerous in nature, and that part is what is bad actually. So Now, since we know we are concerned about radiation, the question is how do we protect ourselves? So it's three simple words. We just have to remember three simple words: time, distance, and shielding. So first when we come to time, it is basically reduce the amount of time you're spending with the radioactive material. I mean, it's not your boyfriend or your girlfriend, so you won't spend an entire day with them basically. You do your work and get out. That's the logic over here. Spend as low as a time as possible. Then you maintain your distance. Again, same case, not your boyfriend or your girlfriend, you're holding hands. You keep your distance with that radioactive source, and it's because the intensity of the radiation, it decreases as or it reduces as the square of the distance between you and the source. So it follows the inverse square law basically. And so if you're far away from the radiation source, it's much better you will take a lower dose or a lower intensity from that radiation. The third option which you have is shielding. So it is basically you have some shield or a screen between you and the radioactive source. So all the radiations, they are stopped by that shield. So now another important concept of protecting ourselves is called the ALARA principle. So ALARA is basically stands for as low as reasonably achievable. So I'll explain this with an example. So imagine you have to go for an X-ray because say you fell down while playing football and you've got a fracture in your hand. And the doctor asks you to go for an X-ray. Now the X-ray technician can give you a good or a large amount of X-ray dose to get a very clear, good picture of your hand to see where the fracture is, where the crack is. So in this case, you will have a very good image, but you would have taken a lot of dose. The technician, X-ray technician, has another option where he can say, okay, I don't want to give that person such a large dose, and he gives you a dose. And now because of that, the crack or the fracture might not be that clearly visible. And so the doctor will ask you to get another X-ray. And so in the end, you are still taking on more dose. So you see, between those two cases, you have a fine line where you have a good image and where you take a low or reasonable amount of dose from your X-rays. And that is what the ALARA principle is basically. Another concept which you should remember, it's just two letters and two numbers. It is D4C2. They appear in pairs. So the first one is delay and decay. So as we saw with the half-life, as the number of half-lives increase, you saw that the amount of radioactive material, it was decreasing, and you have more and more stable atoms present. So it's basically this concept. You delay the disposal of your radioactive source and you just let it decay. Another thing which you could do is you dilute and you disperse it. So in the news, you would have, like recently, you would have heard making a lot of noise regarding Fukushima, who is releasing some of its radioactive water back into the ocean. And so, yeah, you scientists, we are not idiots, basically. And the concept over here is you dilute your material enough so that the radioactivity or the concentration becomes equivalent to that of your background radiation. And then you disperse it. So you are not harming the people around, you're not harming the animals, nature, anything around it by doing that. The third option is concentrate and contain. So this is something which we use for high level wastes in from nuclear reactors. So basically what we do is we concentrate all that waste into a small volume, we contain it, we lock it in an underground vault basically. And then I go the first principle, which is you just let it remain over there. You let it decay till your activity is low enough, and then you can basically dilute it and get rid of it or disperse. So I was also talking about shielding earlier, and you see, if you just take a look at the nuclear reactor, so this tiny structure over here is where your fission reaction takes place, and it is the core of the reactor. So if you compare this small volume to the rest of the building, you can see it's very, very small. But it is over here where your nuclear reactions are taking place. So to protect the environment, to protect us humans, animals, everything on the outside from the radiations inside, we have like different boundaries or layers we can see. So the first layer is your casing or the metal tube in which we put the fuel. Go outside of that, we have the reactor vessel over here, which is about 4 to 8 inches of thick steel. You go one layer outside, you have a bioshield, which is 4 feet of leaded concrete, and it may or may not have a steel lining with it. Now go one step outside, you have a 5-foot thick concrete wall. Again, one more step outside, you have the containment vessel over here, which is basically made of 1 to 2 inches of steel. And finally, you have your reactor wall, which is 3 feet of concrete again. Sometimes in some reactors, you have a double wall also. So you see, shielding is very important, as you can see from the example of the reactor. So you have various layers of shielding. It's basically to keep the radiation, radioactivity, which is inside the reactor inside, and us humans, which are outside the reactor outside. Now, you also have a visit after this lecture to Nuvia, and it's on measuring radiations, if I am not wrong. I may be wrong, I'm not sure. So to measure radiation, we basically use radiation detectors. So what these detectors do is that current is produced when a radiation passes through that. So in the movies, if you see, you would see this needle which is moving around, and it's because there is a current which is produced when the radiations are passing through them. So in some cases, you could have such an analog signal. In other cases, you could also have a very clean spectrum. So this is a gamma spectrum. Unfortunately, I don't have enough time to explain what the gamma spectrum is and what it looks like. So I just have a few basic questions for y'all, which you can think about, or basically food for thought right now. And you can solve them and send your answers to IYNS. And if you have any doubts or something, you can ask questions. That's it for me. And before I go, I will just story. You could take that as an advice or a lecture, whatever. So basically, I was born and brought up in Bombay, and I love going to the beach. And so any chance I would get when I was young, I would just go to the beach. And the monsoon season in Bombay is bad, I would say. And when it's monsoon season, you also see that the sea becomes very rough. And every monsoon season, I would argue with my mom and dad saying that I want to go to the beach, and they would say no. And me being arrogant, I would, what's wrong? I know how to swim. And my dad would turn around and tell me that water, fire, he would say, like, listen, water, fire, wind, they are all forces of nature. And if you treat them well, you respect them, use them responsibly, you can have, they will give you life basically. And if you don't treat them responsibly. If you don't use them well, they have the potential to even take your life. So it's the same thing with radiations, the same thing with radioactivity. If you use it well, you use it responsibly, you have n number of uses, n number of applications from nuclear medicine, so in the medical sector, to energy production, to space exploration, to agriculture, everything. But if you don't use it well, you could have a potential Chernobyl on your hands. And so in the end, it is how you use it that is more important. And that's it. So if you have any questions or something, feel free to ask me.
Jehaan, there are questions.
Sure. 1 minute, I will.
Yeah, if we don't have time, Uday, can you just give 1 or 2 questions to Jehaan Nicholson, because he's all the way from France connecting with us and 4 and 5 hours behind time, and they all woke up so early, Nitendra and so there's just 1 or 2 questions, and others can be posted at IYNS site. Thank you.
Sure.
And Jehaan is very prompt to answer on IYNS site, all queries.
Before you take questions, Uday, I just want to add one thing to what Jehaan has said, if you allow me.
Yeah, sure, sir.
So as Jehaan has already mentioned one very nice concept, yes, as we say, the time, distance, and shielding. I want to point out, like, this is very important, especially in these days when we are going through a pandemic. Yes, the same concept is applicable for coronavirus as well. You have to reduce your interaction time with the potential, potential person who might be having the virus with. You have to maintain this distance when we say like distance of 6 feet or 2 hand. And of course, you have to maintain your shielding. You have to maintain your mask and your protective gears. So this concept is applicable in every aspect. So make sure you follow that. Thank you, Uday.
Thank you, sir. And I think before we move on to the questions, I would just like to apologize for the miscommunication that happened earlier regarding the announcement. So that was an error on my part. And now moving on to the questions, there are actually quite a lot of them. I'll take the first one, which is an anonymous question, which says, how do they make sure that the radiation that is given as treatment is safe and doesn't make normal cells cancerous?
Okay, so this is an interesting question. So, depending on which radiation therapy you use, because you have proton therapy where you inject a proton beam into the body, you also have something with gamma rays. And so it's quite valid that yes, you are also giving a dose to the non-cancerous or the good cells, and but the dose is controlled with a doctor. It is calculated, it is measured. It's not like just a random dose, like give them 100 grays of radiation and well, it's not that. Everything is properly calculated, it is properly managed, properly regulated, and that is how we make sure that it is only the cancerous cells which are affected. So there are 2 concepts which you can use. One is of teletherapy, so which is you have the radiation source which is outside and you provide the radiations. The other one is brachytherapy, where you insert small or tiny capsules inside the body, very close to the cancerous tumor. So depending which one you use, not you but the doctor basically, it would affect the patient that way. And again, both cases, the dose and everything is calculated and it is safe.
Great, thank you so much. Question. This one is from Mannat Sethi, who asked, can radiation kill you in minutes?
So again, it depends on the dose which you take. Sometimes when the dose is very low, you would not have any immediate symptoms or immediate side effects, but you could develop cancer after, say, like 20, 50, 70 years. In some cases, so for example, I just showed you the image of the nuclear reactor, right? So imagine the reactor is operating and you were to walk past all those barriers, stand next to the core, touch the core, hug the core. I am pretty sure you would be dead within minutes or seconds. I mean, you won't last for hours also. So it again depends on the amount of radiation you take, amount of radiation dose you take.
Great. Thank you so much, sir. I think that's a
You're
valuable
welcome.
lesson for everyone. Mm, Vinita ma'am, are you saying something? You're on mute. Okay. So with that, we're coming to an end of this presentation, and I think the topic of this presentation really allows us to have more ground to delve into the next event for this day, which is also the final event, which is a very exciting live tour of an irradiation facility at Nuvia, which will be undertaken by Miss Kritika Kaur. So um, I hand over to you, ma'am. We're all very excited to visit the irradiation facility.
Yeah.
Just
Okay.
can I say one thing? So,
Yeah, sure.
tour is, since it's an irradiation facility, it would be interesting for you to ask questions about the source, the activity, the half-life, which particle it emits. And so that would be interesting for you guys if you want to connect these two topics in a way.
Great, thank you for
And that's it.
I think we can start now.
Yeah, good afternoon all. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am, we can hear you.
Yeah, I'm Kritika and I'm the technical manager and also the radiological safety officer at Nuvia India. And today I'll be taking you on a tour of the irradiation facility that we have. Can we start from the outside? Can you take the camera from the first gate? First entry gate, just to show the security systems like what we have.
Yeah.
She's Neeta, and actually I'm not in office today, so she'll be my eyes. Yeah, this is the facility that we
Clear, Vanita? Very good. I'm working very remotely because I'm outside of India at the moment. But isn't that to show how exciting we are in this current age? The coronavirus, like other instances, have been a catalyst to change. And I think this day just illustrates just how school of the future
very good.
will look like.
I'm working very remotely because I'm outside of India at the moment.
Well, I'm getting some echo now.
To show how exciting we are in this current age. The coronavirus, like other instances, have been a catalyst to change. And I think this day just illustrates just how school of the future. Very good.
Okay, so I was just getting cleared up now.
Samir, can we fix it up?
I think it's stopped now.
Samir? Thank you.
Is it clear now?
Yes, sir, it is.
All right. So what I was just saying, and look, let's put technical issues aside. We live in a robust environment, and that's what we have to do. We have to be resilient. And again, the COVID virus has proven that. Here we are today in the school of the future. We're getting outside presenters, we're getting experts, we're getting university colleagues, we're getting students asking questions of each other. That is the school of the future. I think what's really exciting at Shiv Nadar and all of our campuses and the whole foundation, it's a thinker. It thinks ahead of the times. It's here to help people build a better future. I think we're all very proud to be part of this foundation. And the educational arm of it is just a real strength of how we can shape the world today. The issues that we're being presented today with energy, with sustainability, with the environment, with climate, are all real issues. We have to talk about that. That has to be part of our curriculum. We have no choice. And certainly when I listen to the students asking their questions today and prior to this, they want answers. They want to learn. They want to collaborate. They want to communicate, be those critical thinkers of the future. So what I'm really proud to see is this in action today. And again, put aside the technical issues that happen occasionally. I can see us building professional teaching labs where we have kids in studios and the teachers are there and we're working on site, but still streaming out to our students in hybrid classes. I can see us connecting with professionals like we've done today. I can see us being connected to more than one university, in fact. What is exciting is that we're living not just the dream, but we're looking to create that dream. And to Vanita and her team, you know, it's an undertaking that is just showing how we can actually deal with this. I talk about connected learning to all my colleagues, and I talk about personal learning all the time. Today is just a great example of that. So I can only thank all the participants. I can only thank the fact that we're connecting around the world. We're bringing the classroom to a reality for our children that's not just defined by four walls. We're making the relevance that is needed to be part of our curriculum, as I've said. So all I can say to everyone, turn up tomorrow, turn up Sunday, be part of this whole journey as we shape a new paradigm in education. The fact that we want to connect and have an enriched curriculum, that's still